Chapter 239. The large black dog was as strong as a bull. He had a square head and large ears, and his teeth were snow-white like daggers. They were extremely sharp, and he stuck out his bright red tongue. His tone was very forceful, and he considered himself to be the Black Emperor. Yi Fan stared at it, but he really couldn't see anything wrong with it. This big black dog didn't have any demonic chi, and it also didn't have any fluctuations of godly power. However, its muscles and bones were like copper and iron, and it couldn't be moved at all. "Let's go back to the stone stronghold and eat a whole roast lamb," Xianxia called out, leaning on his walking stick. In the scarlet earth of the northern region, beef and mutton were the most common meats. It was very difficult to eat delicacies from the mountains and sea. Yi Fan pondered. Was this big black dog really the creature that had followed him out of the Purple Mountain? But it was completely different from what he had imagined. No one from the surrounding villages went missing, right? Yi Fan asked. Wang Shu shook his head and said, "Ever since Xianxia was breached, the bandits within a circumference of 500 li all disappeared without a trace. There are no more bandits. This region is very peaceful." "What do you mean? Do you think that I will stir up trouble here?" The large black dog was indeed very intelligent, and he instantly understood what Ling Han was trying to say. Yi Fan ignored it. This large black dog had an extraordinary background, so it wasn't wise to get into a conflict with it. The banquet was very lively. A large group of people, men and women, young and old, sat on the ground in the open air. The flames danced and the roasted meat made sizzling sounds. Oil drops continuously fell into the fire, and the fragrance wafted in the air. The big black dog wolfed down its food, staying far away from the bonfire. Yi Fan asked Jianghu, "Elder, do you know its origin?" "I don't know. Speaking of which, the first time I saw it, it really gave me a fright," Jianghu said slowly. It would be a wonder if ordinary mortals wouldn't be frightened when they saw a big black dog speaking in human language. However, the big black dog didn't hurt anyone, and was very friendly towards Jianghu. "I saw it near the Purple Mountain. At that time it was wandering around." Lei Bo immediately recognized it as the black shadow that took away our roasted lamb. "Is it usually in the stone stockade?" Yi Fan continued to ask. "Every morning it runs to the Purple Mountain for a spin. The rest of the time, it spends most of its time swallowing the sun jewels and moon radiance." Yi Fan nodded to himself. This big black dog really did have some sort of connection with Purple Mountain. It was almost certain that it was the creature that had followed him out. It really didn't eat any other livestock? It didn't do anything bad. Yi Fan was still worried about this black dog. The impression that the primordial race had left on him was too deep. In this world, he had come into contact with more unknown life forms than any of the great sacred lords. That was because it was rare for someone to see one even after thousands of years. He had once entered deep into the Purple Mountain and awakened several creatures, personally encountering them. As for the absolute beginning forbidden area, everyone knew about it but no one dared to enter it. Only the emperors who were at the end of their lifespans could enter, and it could be said that they couldn't leave. They were lucky to be able to escape this time. It really hasn't done anything evil. I've touched its bones before. It's a big domestic dog that has turned into a spirit, not some other race, Jianghu answered with certainty. Wang Shu, what do you think of it? I can't say. It doesn't feel like a big dog. Its personality is no different from a human's. Wang Shu shook his head. This bald-tailed dog is too unreasonable. Lei Bo mumbled at the side, afraid that the big black dog would hear him. The first time they met, he had been pounced on. His experience was much worse than Yi Fan's. He had been torn apart and bitten, and he had also been ravaged on a daily basis. This bald-tailed dog is very vengeful. Didn't I just chase it? However, it's really strange. It taught me and Wang Shu some special cultivation techniques, Lei Bo said. It taught you cultivation techniques? Yi Fan was surprised. It always thinks of itself as the Black Emperor. If we make the slightest mistake, it will wave its dog paw, Lei Bo complained. Yi Fan almost spat out the wine in his mouth. This big black dog was really strange. What techniques did it teach you? Let me see. Yi Fan indicated for Wang Shu to use the mystical technique and placed his hand on his body. This was a very strange mystical technique that was specially targeted at Lei Bo and Wang Shu's special physique. It drew out the mysterious energy within their frontal bones and tempered every inch of their flesh. This bald-tailed dog really does have some skills. Yi Fan was a little surprised. He nodded and said, "You too should learn from it. There's no harm in it." "Little brother Yi, you must not call it a bald-tailed dog. Lei Bo was often bitten by it because of this reason." Wang Shu reminded in a low voice and said, "It's coming over." You must call it the Black Emperor. Black Emperor, this big dog really boasted shamelessly. Did it really think that it was in existence like the ancient Saint Emperor? The big black dog ate a whole 2 goats. Its head was raised very high, and the black fur all over its body was very long. It was as glossy as silk, and its eyes were as big as copper bells. The only thing that was not in harmony was that bald tail. Is the Black Emperor full? Jianghu patted the soft blanket beside him. The big black dog lay down and lay comfortably beside him. Such a ferocious big dog was indifferent to everyone except Jianghu. It was still relatively docile. Little brat, why are you always so unkind to me? The Black Emperor glanced at Yi Fan arrogantly. Yi Fan really wanted to give it a slap. This was really a vicious dog biting back. It had pounced on him the first time they met, and it still had the same attitude now. What kind of mental cultivation technique did you teach Lei Bo and Wang Shu? Yi Fan asked. It's naturally the supreme ancient scripture that this emperor created. The big black dog had a proud expression on his face. Supreme ancient scripture? What name does it have? Yi Fan asked as he clinked cups with the people around him and drank. It's called the Black Emperor Scripture, and it's a supreme secret technique that reigns supreme in both ancient and modern times. Black Emperor? You named it yourself, right? I flipped through all the ancient books in the Eastern Wasteland, and there's no such name. There are only a few ancient emperors whose names have shaken the world. The big black dog roared in a low voice and said, This emperor disdains leaving his name in the annals of history. You're so arrogant when I say you're fat. Even if your tail is bald, how long can you live? 300 years? 1,000 years? Or 1,500 years? The big black dog hated it the most when people said that it was bald. It stood up with an unkind look in its eyes, and opened its bloody mouth, wanting to pounce over. Jianghu hurriedly comforted it, stroking its glossy fur with a coarse old hand and said, Don't be angry, Black Emperor. Little brat, watch your words. The big black dog threatened. It lay there unhappily and said, This emperor has traveled through the ages, and even I can't remember how long I've lived. Yi Fan sneered and said, I've heard of the Eternal Universe Emperor, the Void Emperor, and the Empress of the West, but I've never heard of the Black Emperor. Can you compare to them? The big black dog wanted to retort, but even though countless years had passed, the names of the 3 emperors still possessed supreme divine might. It bared its teeth but didn't dare to profane them in the end. The moonlight was gentle and the bonfire danced. The young women and young men in the stone stronghold were singing and dancing to each other. It was a very joyous occasion. Yi Fan nibbled on a leg of lamb, drank over a dozen cups of wine and said, There are only so many ancient scriptures in the Eastern Wasteland, and I know one of them. Why don't we have a spar? You want to fight with me? The big black dog tilted its head and looked at him, revealing its snow-white teeth. As a dog, don't be so savage, okay? Let's have a civil battle, and we'll each recite an ancient scripture to see who's better. The big black dog chuckled coldly and said, You want to swindle my supreme scripture? You're still far from it. Yi Fan shook his head with a smile and said, I only want to have a spar. How about this? Since you're so guarded, I'll recite a scripture first. There are only so many ancient scriptures in the Eastern Wasteland. Which one do you know? The big black dog obviously didn't believe him. To the extreme of emptiness, keep quiet. Yi Fan's expression was solemn, and he recited a scripture. This scripture was indeed an ancient scripture. Of course it was incomplete. It was the void ancient scripture of the Ji family. Apart from the Great Void technique, he only obtained a few parts of the mental cultivation method. This was a supreme scripture created by the Void Emperor of the Ancient Void to observe all things and capture the eternal and unchanging laws. I didn't expect you to know a bit. At least you didn't try to trick my supreme scripture for nothing. The big black dog's eyes flashed and he said, Listen carefully, I'll recite a part of my Black Emperor scripture for you. Okay, I'm all ears. Yi Fan's heart was calm and he listened carefully. Swallow the sun and moon, illuminate the gods. The big black dog recited a scripture. It was indeed extremely profound and difficult to understand. However, the more Yi Fan listened, the more he felt that something was wrong. This wasn't something a human could cultivate. This was a demon saint's technique. Wait, I can't cultivate this scripture at all. There's no point in having a spar like this. Yi Fan stopped him. The ancient scripture that I created naturally has to be suitable for me to cultivate. It's not like I created it for you. The big black dog glanced at him disdainfully. My ancient scripture is famous throughout the ages. There are only a few in the Eastern Wasteland that can stand side by side with it. Even a demon saint can use it as a reference. However, your so-called Black Emperor scripture is far from enough. Yi Fan shook his head. Don't brag. Little brat, you want to trick a wolf for nothing and get other ancient scriptures from me? How can it be so easy? The big black dog looked as if he had seen through him. You're trying to trick a black dog for nothing? Lei Bo muttered at the side. Woof. The barking of the big black dog caused Lei Bo to immediately shut up. My scripture is famous throughout the ages, and it was created by the Eternal Universe Emperor. I disdain to obtain your scripture. Yi Fan shook his head, sighed and said, At the end of the celestial path, who is the peak? You're full of nonsense. Your scripture is clearly the Void ancient scripture of the Ji clan, and it was created by the Void Emperor. Why did you drag the Eternal Universe Emperor into it? The big black dog seemed to be very agitated and said, Moreover, why is it, Eternal Universe Emperor emptiness? I admit that the Eternal Universe Emperor is one of the strongest people since ancient times, but that sentence isn't directed at him. Then who is it directed at? Yi Fan laughed. It's naturally a peerless figure that surpasses the ancients and dazzles the contemporaries, one of the emperors. The big black dog suddenly fell silent. After a series of probing, Yi Fan finally obtained some information. This big black dog wasn't an ancient being, and he had cultivated the Demon Saint Heart technique. Moreover, he was close to Emperor Wuxia. Little brat, you're still far from being able to play tricks with me. You don't even have ancient scriptures to think about. The big black dog calmed down and said, I indeed know the whereabouts of several ancient scriptures. Do you want to know? Yi Fan was speechless. This big black dog was clearly messing with his nerves. What is an old black dog like you know? The strongest ancient scriptures are in the hands of the great sage. The big black dog revealed a disdainful expression and said, I know where the Eternal Universe Emperor comprehended his Tao, and I also know which precipice the Western Emperor scripture was inscribed on by the Empress Mother of the West. Chapter 240. Yi Fan probed it a few times, and finally obtained a preliminary understanding of the situation he wanted to know. The large black dog was not an ancient race, and was rather close to Emperor Wuxia. However, he also tasted the bitter fruit. In the following days he was often bitten by dogs. The large black dog was very vengeful and would give him a bite every now and then. Whether it was eating or going out, he had to be careful. *CK, I'm bitten by dogs every day. What's going on? He was really speechless. He had never seen such a vengeful dog. A cultivator being bitten by a dog. If word got out, it would probably cause a lot of laughter. It was really humiliating. If it weren't for the fact that his body was comparable to godly metal, he really wouldn't have been able to endure it. Even so, there were still a few bruises on his body. If you bite me again, I'll skin you alive and eat dog meat. These words caused a great disaster. In the following dozen or so days there was no peace. The large black dog would occasionally bite him. Yi Fan also attacked a few times, but he couldn't do anything to it. That glossy black body was too sturdy. His golden palms and fingers struck out with sky-shaking sounds, but he just couldn't move it. How does it temper its body? It's too freakish. The only thing that made him feel fortunate was that for some reason, the large black dog only knew how to bite and pounce. It didn't know how to cast any techniques and it couldn't even fly. This is really strange. If it was an ordinary dog demon, it would also know how to fly. Yi Fan observed for a dozen or so days. The large black dog would go to the Purple Mountain every morning, and then absorb the essence of the sun and moon to cultivate. It didn't do anything else. Black Emperor, you can't even fly with this kind of cultivation. Your supreme scripture isn't good enough. The large black dog glanced at him and said, My great Tao is mysterious and unfathomable, and my cultivation level has already returned to its original state. What can you see? Don't try to trick me. Your stupid scripture isn't suitable for humans to cultivate at all. Why would I try to trick it? Yi Fan felt that this large dog was too vigilant. It would be harder than ascending to the heavens if he wanted to get any more information out of it. Don't think I don't know what you want. The large black dog raised its massive head and said arrogantly, Let me tell you, there's no chance. Just give up as soon as possible. Yi Fan rubbed his chin. He felt that there was really no way to deal with this old monster. It had lived for too long and was more cunning than anyone else. If you want the ancient scriptures, it's not impossible. Get me a piece of divine source. Yi Fan wanted to give it a beating, saying, Why don't you say that I'll dig out the source of origin ancient mine for you to eat? You still want divine origin? I haven't even seen it before. Then there's no need to talk. The large black dog tilted his head and glanced at him. Then he swaggered away. Actually, I know the whereabouts of an ancient scripture of a monster race great emperor, Yi Fan said indifferently. I can't believe you're able to pull off such a cheap trick. The large black dog expressed his disdain. He didn't even turn his head back as he left with his bald tail raised high in the air. Yi Fan flicked his finger and a bead of blood flew out. Without saying anything, he walked in the opposite direction. The large black dog immediately scurried back, baring his white teeth as he blocked Ling Han's path. Black Emperor, what do you want to do? Have you eaten the flesh and blood of a monster emperor before? I can smell the scent of that supreme demonic blood. His expression was unkind, and his expression was even more vivid than that of a human's. Do you think I'm as savage as you? I've never killed a living thing in my life. If I believed your words, I would really be seeing a ghost. Now do you believe me? This is the aura of a monster emperor, and I do indeed know the whereabouts of an ancient scripture of a monster emperor? Yi Fan guided him patiently. No wonder I always had an urge to swallow you. There is a shred of the monster emperor's blood essence in your body. The large black dog bared his teeth, and licked his lips with his bright red tongue. Black Emperor, what do you want to do? I want to eat you. The large black dog opened his bloody mouth and suddenly rushed over. Yi Fan formed a sun-moon seal and rushed over. His golden palm trembled and he wanted to beat this large black dog to the ground. This place was like smithing and the sounds were deafening. 4 hours later, Yi Fan's arms were numb and he really couldn't fight anymore. He flew into the air and pulled out a shirt to wear. Because the large black dog was tearing and biting at him, he almost suffered a great loss. *CK, I've been bitten by a dog again. Yi Fan looked at the teeth marks on his body and was really speechless. There was probably no cultivator who had been chased and bitten by a dog like him. The large black dog stuck out his red tongue and panted as he said, I believe you. You have indeed refined the blood essence of a monster emperor before, and your skin is thick and your flesh is not delicious. Yi Fan cursed his bad luck and turned to leave. Don't go, we can talk. If you can find me a divine source, I'll tell you the whereabouts of an ancient scripture, the large black dog called out from behind. Not interested. Yi Fan didn't even turn back and flew toward the stone stronghold. The large dog was obviously tempted, but he still demanded an exorbitant price. Now he had to keep his cool. In the next 2 days, the Black Emperor was very calm and didn't come to find him. He finally had 2 days of peace and was not bitten by a dog. On the 4th day, the large black dog finally appeared and said, I say, brat, are you intentionally leaving me hanging? We both want an ancient scripture and now we can sit down and talk. Give me 3 divine source, and I'll tell you the whereabouts of the demon race great emperor's ancient scripture. Woof. The large black dog almost pounced and looked at him fiercely. Forget it, 1 divine source, Yi Fan said unhurriedly. Brat, you're trying to extort me. Let me tell you, I don't even have half a divine source. If you want an ancient scripture of the human race, give me a divine source. The large black dog gritted his teeth. In your dreams, I haven't even seen what a divine source looks like. Don't think that I don't know. You've obtained the heavenly source book, and you'll definitely be able to find a divine source in the future. Even if I find it, I won't give it to you. The first conversation ended on a bad note. Yi Fan and the Black Emperor didn't back down. The next day they quarreled again. Brat, give me a divine source and I'll tell you the whereabouts of an ancient scripture. Give me 10 and I'll recite half of the ancient scripture for you. Give me 50 and I'll give you a complete ancient scripture, the Black Emperor said patiently. Why don't you just dive into the origin ancient mine? How many divine source are there in the North region? You want 10 and then you want 50. Do you think this is a sweet potato? Yi Fan's fingers became a faint gold color, and he really wanted to slap the dog's head a few times. You can't say that. A supreme ancient scripture is priceless. How about this, you tell me the whereabouts of the demon race great emperor's scripture. What you said can all be reversed. You can use divine source to exchange for the demon race great emperor's ancient scripture. Yi Fan smiled. Woof, you win. The large black dog's tone finally softened slightly and he said, we can exchange the whereabouts of the ancient scripture. This way no one will lose out. I feel like I'll lose out. Old monster like you is too cunning. Who knows if what you said is true or false? Yi Fan took out the oily green-black tortoise and played with it in his hand. He did this intentionally. This large black dog's background was strange, and he wanted to see if he could see anything. The result exceeded his expectations. The large black dog's eyes immediately turned green, and he pounced over soundlessly, launching a sneak attack as fast as lightning, biting down. Even though Yi Fan was on guard, he was still bitten twice, but at least he didn't snatch the black tortoise away and soared into the sky. *CK I was bitten by a dog again. Yi Fan was extremely angry and really wanted to skin it and eat its flesh. Brat, how can you say that? What do you mean by being bitten by a dog again? It sounds like you're insulting me, the large black dog questioned boldly. Do you have any dog morals? Always launching sneak attacks. I've never seen a dog as immoral as you. Yi Fan felt slightly awkward talking to a dog like this, but this dog was really evil, and was no different from a human that had become a demon. Brat, let me see that piece of broken jade in your hand. The large black dog looked at him from the corner of his eye. I'll let you see. It's definitely like throwing a meat bun at a dog and you won't be able to return. Don't even think about it. Yi Fan stood in the air. The large black dog was very displeased with the words, throwing a meat bun at a dog, and said with a dark expression, Isn't it just a piece of broken jade? You're too stingy. I just think it looks a little like the piece I used to wear in the past. If you don't want to let me see, then so be it. Let's not talk anymore. He acted as if he didn't care and swaggered off. Yi Fan discovered that this large black dog was really two-faced, and was even more cunning than humans. He said, Black Emperor, don't try to hide it. Do you really think I don't know what this is? You actually dare to say that? Broken jade? This is a divine source shell. The large black dog stopped in his tracks with a schwa, turned around and said, Ridiculous, I don't know what you're talking about. Yi Fan smirked coldly and said, Keep pretending. The Black Emperor didn't leave and slowly walked over again. He said, This is only a divine source shell, and there isn't much spiritual essence left in it. How about this? I can barely count it as half a piece of divine source. If you can find another half, I'll tell you the whereabouts of the ancient scripture. I've never seen such a despicable dog like you. Stop pretending, I know there's a shocking secret sealed inside. The corners of Yi Fan's lips curled up slightly and he slowly said, This is something that I brought out from a grand divine temple in the forbidden land of absolute beginning. I'm sure you've definitely seen something from it. If you want it, you can exchange it for the ancient scripture. Stop bullshitting. You think you can enter the forbidden land of absolute beginning? Any random creature that jumps out would be able to devour you. The large black dog raised his head high. Yi Fan waved the green jade in his hand and said, This is something that was enshrined on the divine altar of the ancient temple. The Deluo silver essence has already decayed, but this jade is still completely undamaged. Really? Let me see it more clearly. The large black dog scooted forward. You want to cheat me again, right? Yi Fan flew into the sky. In the following days, Yi Fan and the Black Emperor continued to wrangle. He felt that this dog was too difficult to deal with and he really wanted to kill it and eat it. Unfortunately, he couldn't beat this large black dog. Its life was even tougher than his. Half a month later, he really couldn't take it anymore. He didn't have the patience to continue haggling and wanted to leave the stone stronghold. It was at this moment that the large black dog finally relented. Brat, you win. This is the first time in my life that I've given in to someone. I'll show you a way to find the scripture. Whether you can obtain it or not will depend on your luck. This dog's words couldn't be trusted at all. Yi Fan's forehead was filled with black lines and he said, Don't say such useless things. I only want the Western Emperor's scripture. If you can't take it out, then don't say anything. I'll leave right now and don't even think about seeing this green jade profound tortoise again in this lifetime. The large black dog's expression flickered and he said, Brat, you're too ruthless. Why do you want me to bring you to find the scripture first, and only give me benefits after you obtain it? This is too unfair. I have the guarantee of my reputation and yours. I can't see it. Brat, what do you mean? You're smearing this emperor's reputation. We'll never meet again. Yi Fan turned and left. Young people are really impatient. Fine, this emperor will bring you to find the Western Emperor's scripture, the large black dog said fiercely. Let's make this clear first. If you manage to find it, you must give me that green jade profound tortoise. No problem. Yi Fan nodded in agreement. Also, you have to tell me the whereabouts of the demon emperor's ancient scripture as well, the large black dog added. That's easy too. Brat, you agreed so quickly. Is there a trick? The large black dog was suspicious. I'm really wondering whether you're a black dog or a black fox. If you dare to look down on me again, I'll teach you a lesson, the Black Emperor threatened. The large black dog was only slightly obedient towards Jianghu. He raised his bald tail in farewell and left with Yi Fan. Crackle crackle. Yi Fan once again used the heaven and earth changing technique and transformed into another youth. His appearance changed greatly. The large black dog sneered disdainfully at the side and said, One look and I can tell that you've done all kinds of bad things. Even when you're out, you have to act like this. What kind of atrocious things have you done? Don't be cocky. Hurry up and take me to find the Western Emperor's scripture. Yi Fan felt that this large black dog was really difficult to deal with. Take me to the surrounding cities first. The Black Emperor raised his head very high, and swept his gaze over the reddish-brown earth. Why are you taking a stroll around the cities if you have nothing better to do? We're not going out to travel but to find the Western Emperor's scripture. Didn't you say that when the Western Emperor Mother first created this scripture, she carved it on a precipice? I've been in seclusion for many years and the mountains and rivers have all changed, so how could I still remember it so clearly? I need to carefully look around to find the direction. The large black dog's bald tail was raised very high, and he looked very aloof. How long have you lived and you still say that the mountains and rivers have all changed? How shameless. Yi Fan glared at him. Even divine kings could only live for a few thousand years, and the lifespans of others were much shorter. Don't worry, I guarantee that I'll be able to find that precipice after I look around. The large black dog dashed forward like a black bolt of lightning. In the next few days they went to over 30 cities. The large black dog wandered around, and it was as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. Brat, you've really gone too far in doing bad things. Look, even your portrait has been pasted up in this city. This is a reward of 1,000-kilogram source. In an ancient city called Long Wind, Yi Fan saw his own portrait. Without a doubt, it was an arrest warrant issued by the Ji clan and the light-shaking realm. Someone had pasted it up. He had seen a similar arrest warrant from Big Boss before, and it was completely the same. When I have some free time, I'll kill all the members of the younger generation who have entered the North region. You want to use them as practice after obtaining the Western Emperor's scripture, right? The large black dog saw through his thoughts. You still haven't found the direction? Don't tell me you've forgotten, Yi Fan said with a dark expression. I've already gradually remembered it. We can set out now. The large black dog gave an affirmative answer. After traveling for several days, Yi Fan felt that something was off. The large black dog was leading him in the direction of the Origin Ancient Mine. Are you sure you didn't remember the wrong way? We're going to the Origin Ancient Mine. That's right, we're going to the old land of the Jade Pool, the large black dog answered. Yi Fan had heard that the old land of the Jade Pool was over 10,000 kilometers away from the Origin Ancient Mine, and the sect had only moved later on. However, now no one knew where the so-called old land of the Jade Pool was and no one could find it. It was said that when the Jade Pool retreated, it had already been completely sealed. Around the Origin Ancient Mine, the vast and boundless region was all mining areas. The large black dog was like an old horse that knew the way, observing the terrain of the mountains and rivers, and continuously making detours, avoiding the mining areas of the Holy Land, bringing Yi Fan into the depths of the reddish-brown earth. Why did the Jade Pool retreat? Yi Fan asked. In reality, many ancient texts recorded that the Jade Pool was over 10,000 kilometers away from the Origin Ancient Mine, and there was no mention of any so-called relocation. No one knows the specific reason. The moonlight was like water, and Yi Fan and the Black Emperor had already advanced in the uninhabited region for over a dozen days, but they still hadn't found the so-called ruins of the Jade Pool. That's not right. The old land of the Jade Pool has beautiful mountain ranges, and the scenery is beautiful. It's an oasis and it should be in this region. Why has it disappeared? The large black dog was suspicious. Under the moonlight, the red earth stretched as far as the eye could see, and there was no end to it. It was empty and vast, and it was difficult to even see a large rock, let alone a mountain. The Black Emperor looked up at the bright moon, and then looked at this blood-colored earth and said, "This place has been sealed. Brat, hurry up and find it. If we enter into a world full of flowers and birds, we might have a great opportunity." Suddenly Yi Fan was shocked. He saw a white figure flying into the sky from the distant horizon. Jade Pool Celestial. Two divine lights shot out from the large black dog's eyes and he said, "Looks like we've come to the right place. We definitely have to find the sealed old land of the Jade Pool. I really want to see why they retreated." Chapter 241. In the North region, the temperature difference between day and night was very large. The moonlight was cold and the chill was bone-chilling. On the horizon, a few white figures were very ethereal, flickering and disappearing. They were as ethereal as immortals as they flew into the sky. Yi Fan disappeared with a step, leaving behind a dozen or so afterimages on the vast land. He chased very far away but he didn't catch anything. He stood in the night sky, looking up at the boundless starry sky. What is that? He was confused. The few white figures disappeared into the boundless night sky, and couldn't be seen again. Jade Pool Celestial, the large black dog answered. Celestial? Yifan didn't understand. To cultivators, celestials were illusory and unreal. Though there were always legends about their existence, there was no proof. Even if some were recorded in ancient books, they couldn't stand up to scrutiny. It's hard to say. The large black dog shook his head. The Jade Pool was an ancient site. Occasionally there would be strange scenes of celestials flying under the night moon. No one could tell what was going on. From afar it was hazy, but up close it was indistinct. According to the legends, this was a primordial afterimage, a reflection of countless years ago, a replay of ancient events. It can't be a celestial? Yifan didn't believe it. I didn't say it was a celestial. The Black Emperor's eyes shone with a green light. He was no different from a wolf in the night. There was nothing on the vast land except sand and stones. The second half of the night was very quiet. Yifan and the Black Emperor searched for most of the night without finding anything. In the past, the Jade Pool had opened a sect here because the mountains and rivers here were beautiful, and it was a rare celestial land. But now it was desolate, and apart from red sand, nothing else could be seen. The miraculous scene of the Jade Pool Celestial had already appeared. This was definitely the old land of the Jade Pool, but no matter how they searched, they couldn't find a single flaw. The morning glow surged, bright red and golden, and the reddish-brown land was dazzling. Yifan and the Black Emperor busied themselves for an entire night, but they didn't even find a single tile, let alone the ruins. You're really unreliable. You told me there was a Western Emperor scripture here, but you couldn't even find it. Do you know what it means to be blessed? What's that? That's the Western Emperor scripture, which was created by the legendary Western Emperor Mother. How could it be obtained so easily? The large black dog tried to find an excuse. Before coming here you said it was very easy. You said that it was carved on a precipice, and as long as you came here, you would be able to find it. What happened? The large black dog pulled a long face and walked to the side unhappily. He narrowed his eyes and began to ponder. After a long time he said, "This place has been sealed and I'm slightly unwell, so I might not be able to open it at the moment. I can only think of another way." It stood up and said, "Let's go to the edge of the Jade Pool. The seal there is the weakest. I think there's a way to sneak in." After advancing for a full half a day, the large black dog finally came to a decision. "Let's search here," he said. "Let's search here." The midday sun was very scorching. With the scorching sun overhead, the man and the shadow almost overlapped. The Black Emperor wandered around and suddenly jumped up, saying, "Found it?" Hearing this, Yifan rushed over. In front of them, there was a stretch of red sand shining brightly. The scorching light from the scorching sun flowed over there like a large furnace. "Is there something strange about this place? Can we enter the Jade Pool from here?" "I remember that there's an ancient well at the edge of the Jade Pool Celestial Land. It should be here. We can most likely enter," the large black dog replied. "Old Black, are you reliable? Don't try to fool me again." Yifan didn't really believe him. The large black dog bared his teeth and threatened, "Call me Black Emperor." Yifan struck out with his palm and the red sand swirled into the air. A large pit appeared in the ground and some large rocks emerged from it. "That's right, it's here. Time is merciless. Even this ancient well has been drowned by the sand." The large black dog squatted down to take a closer look. When they finished clearing the ground, an ancient well appeared below them. It was built from ancient jade, and the mouth of the well was sealed by a large rock. The sunlight in the sky was absorbed by this well, and thus it was as hot as a large furnace. As expected, the Jade Pool is extraordinary. Even though it has been sealed, it can still automatically absorb the essence of the sun and the moon. This well is absorbing the sunlight. When Yifan lifted the large rock, a pitch-black mouth of the well was revealed. It was very deep and they couldn't see the end of it. "Are you sure that this well can lead to the Jade Pool?" Yifan looked at him suspiciously. "It should be about right," the large black dog said in an uncertain tone. "What do you mean by about right? Are you sure? Have you entered here before? This well is so deep, so who knows where it will lead to? Isn't there no other way? We need to slowly explore it." The large black dog held a rock in his mouth and tossed it into the ancient well. There was no echo for a long time. "This is a bottomless pit." Yifan was shocked. "I remember now. This is definitely the place that leads to the Jade Pool. Someone has entered here before. Brat, you go down and explore the way first." "Why don't you go and explore the way?" I've encountered some problems with my cultivation, so I can't fly. You can only go down. You're the one leading the way, yet you want me to go and explore the way. Yi Fan glared at him. There's light down there. The large black dog suddenly poked his head into the well. Yi Fan was surprised and looked down, but he didn't discover anything. Right at this moment he felt the large dog's head bump into his body, and he was thrown down. Bald-tailed dog, you're really evil? Fortunately, he had been on guard against this large black dog and he grabbed its hair, pulling it down as well. Brat, it's enough for you to go down alone. There's no need for both of you to come in. That's right, I also feel that it's enough for you to go down alone. Why don't I just throw you down? Yi Fan was about to let go, and he wanted to fly up himself. I can't fly. Brat, if you dare to let go, I won't let you off. The large black dog bit Yi Fan. *CK, I've been bitten by a dog again. Yi Fan didn't fly up. Instead, he grabbed the large black dog and they descended together, wanting to explore a path. The ancient well was really very deep, and they only reached the bottom after descending for over 2,000 meters. There was no water and the ground was completely covered in mud. The stone that the large black dog had thrown in had sunk deeply into the mud. When they landed on the ground, a rotten smell wafted over. There were actually withered leaves in the mud. The ancient well was connected to an underground river, but the river had already dried up, and it flowed horizontally into the distance. Occasionally they could see some small puddles and some blind fish could be seen swimming in them. This dried-up river definitely leads to the Jade Lake. Even if there's a seal, it's still the weakest place. A green light flashed in the large black dog's eyes. The river was pitch black and one couldn't even see their fingers in front of them. They could only use their spirit sense to capture the surrounding scenery. Yi Fan advanced slowly, and the Black Emperor followed beside him. You can even find a path like this? Is this the hole that you crawled out of in the past? Yi Fan swallowed the words dog hole, fearing that the large black dog would fly into a rage. *CK, brat, are you scolding me? The large black dog was extremely sensitive, and he was as cunning as a human. He immediately realized what was going on. Yi Fan was afraid of being bitten, so he hurriedly diverted his attention and said, No, you're thinking too much. How did you discover this path? In the past, the water in the ancient well was full, so it was almost impossible to discover this path. However, there have indeed been people who have entered this place before, but it has nothing to do with me. I've only heard of it. After walking for a full 30 to 40 kilometers, Yi Fan felt that the terrain was gradually becoming higher, and they were slowly ascending to the surface. In this place the seal was extremely weak. There was a faint light flickering, but it couldn't stop anything at all, and they could continue forward. After walking for another few kilometers, sunlight shone down, and they were already very close to the exit. We can really enter the Jade Lake from this place. The large black dog muttered. So you really don't know. Yi Fan really wanted to teach him a lesson or two, but he was afraid of being bitten by the dog. This was a large lake, but it had already dried up, and the bottom of the lake had cracked open. This river was connected to a large crack at the bottom of the lake. After coming out from the river, rich spiritual chi instantly rushed over, making them feel refreshed, as if they were bathing in a spring breeze. The bottom of this large lake was very dry, and if one didn't count those large cracks, its shape was about the same as a frying pan. Many large fish bones lay on the ground. The lake had dried up and they had died. The size of these bones was extremely astonishing, and there were a few that were over a dozen meters long, or even close to 20 meters long. Such large fish have most likely almost become spirits. In the surroundings of the lake, there were many ancient trees that reached into the sky that were rooted on the shore of the lake. They were incredibly vigorous, but it was a pity that they had all dried up, and only one or two still had a dozen or so yellow leaves on their heads. These trees are too thick. I'm afraid they have already grown for thousands or even tens of thousands of years, right? Yi Fan was astonished. Such ancient trees should have already become spirits, yet they had all died here. This was really a little strange. There's something strange about this place. A dark light shone from the large black dog's eyes and he said, No matter whether it's the large fish that are over a dozen meters long in the lake, or the ancient trees on the shore that would require more than a dozen people to wrap their arms around, they obviously can't become spirits. What did you sense? Yi Fan asked. I didn't sense anything. It's just a kind of intuition. Perhaps this is the reason why the Jade Lake is retreating. The Black Emperor swept his gaze over the shore of the lake. The surroundings were very quiet and it was a little lifeless. Yi Fan walked out of this dried-up lake pit, landed on the shore and looked around. In the distance, there was an expanse of withered trees. Many trees had withered and the entire area was bare and lifeless. It gave off an extremely desolate feeling. Didn't you say that this is a world filled with flowers and birds? Why is it so desolate and lonely? Something has happened here. The Black Emperor walked forward. Although the old land of the Jade Lake was very desolate, the spiritual chi here was very dense, and it was many times denser than the outside world. As expected of a holy land for cultivation. After walking for several kilometers, the sound of flowing water could be heard. After passing through a large forest of withered trees, a lush greenery entered his eyes. In front of him there were green plants everywhere and they were verdant and lush. There was a lake that was as clear as a sapphire, and large patches of plants on the shore were full of vitality. There were massive ancient trees, and their branches stretched towards the sky. Their entire bodies were like small mountains, and their thick vines were like numerous dragons, crawling all over the place. All kinds of flowers and plants were fragrant, refreshing the mind. They were colorful and very pleasing to the eye. Yifan felt that it was strange. Why was there such a great contrast? They were very close to each other. One place was deathly silent, while the other place was full of vitality and vitality. The large black dog ran forward, passing through this lush land. After advancing for a mere 1,000 meters or so, another expanse of withered trees appeared, and it was completely silent. Strange, it can't be because of the water source. They continued forward and discovered that 90% of the area was lifeless, and only a few places had vitality. This was also the case for the mountains. Most of them were bare and not a single blade of grass grew. Only a few of them were beautiful and their peaks were verdant and green. After advancing for several dozen kilometers, they finally saw a few pavilions. However, they were already half collapsed. Even though there were patterns on them after so many years, they still couldn't resist the corrosion of time. Soon, we're approaching the important land of the Jade Lake. The Black Emperor's bald tail started counting as he ran forward. After passing through many mountains, they finally arrived at a land shrouded in celestial mist. It was quiet all around and all the plants had withered. Large numbers of palaces were like heavenly palaces, either standing on the peaks of mountains, or sitting in front of dried-up waterfalls. If vitality was restored to this place, it would definitely be a celestial realm. The palaces of the Jade Lake that were floating in the air have all been moved away, and not a single one is left. The large black dog swept his gaze around. Is there an impregnable ancient city in the Jade Lake? Yifan asked. Of course there is one. The large black dog's eyes flashed, and it was as if he was searching for something. He said, after passing through a few mountain ridges in front of us, we'll arrive at the central area. They quickly advanced, and after passing through this withered land, the mist ahead became even more indistinct. After passing through a few mountain ridges, a lush land once again appeared before their eyes. There were waterfalls and springs and the mist was hazy. There were many palaces here and they were all extremely beautiful. It was as if they had entered the celestial realm. It's great that the central area hasn't become a land of death. The large black dog rushed forward. Which precipice did the Western Empress inscribe the scripture on? Yifan urged. After arriving at this kind of celestial realm, even he was feeling slightly restless. What are you in such a hurry for? Let's go to a good place first. On the beautiful cliffs, there were numerous large waterfalls that cascaded down. The silver waterfalls were as long as 3,000 meters, and it was an extremely spectacular sight. There were many palaces here and it was like a scene from a painting. Where exactly are you going? Yifan asked. I'm naturally going to the holy lake of the Jade Lake. The Jade Lake is named after it. Not far away there was a vast expanse of open land. There were countless strange flowers and plants in the surroundings, as well as palaces. In the central area, there was dense spiritual chi, and auspicious colors flowed about. There was a lake there and it was hazy. It should be here. The large black dog rushed over. In this place the spiritual chi was even denser, and it was many times denser than in other places. Standing here they didn't need to use any mysterious techniques, and they could automatically absorb the source essence of heaven and earth. Plop. The large black dog dove into the celestial lake. Black Emperor, is there some kind of treasure in the lake? Otherwise, why are you so anxious? The large black dog didn't answer and he swam toward the center of the lake. Like a streak of black light, he suddenly dove into the lake. Howl. The large black dog dove into the water for a few minutes before letting out a howl. He leaped out of the water as if he had been startled. What did you see? Yifan was astonished. Nothing much, it was just too refreshing. This is the celestial lake of the Jade Lake, and bathing here has a miraculous effect. It can open up one's muscles and activate one's meridians, speeding up one's cultivation. Brat, come down as well. Nonsense. Seeing how scared you were just then, there must be something strange. Are you trying to drag me down with you and be unlucky? Yi Fan stood on the shore, his arms crossed as he looked at the large black dog. Brat, you're naturally suspicious. Have I ever been so unscrupulous? The large black dog asked. When have you ever been unscrupulous? Hurry up and come up. Go and find the Western Emperor's scripture for me, Yi Fan urged. The water quality of this celestial lake is special, and in the past only the fairies of the Jade Lake could enjoy it. This is a place where peerless beauties come out to bathe. Outsiders can't even see it, much less enter. Don't you want to come down and experience it? Suddenly Yi Fan was shocked. He saw a few figures in the water. They were pale white, and it was enough to make one's hair stand on end. You bald dog, you really are evil. The large black dog seemed to have sensed something, and he leaped high into the air. He leaped out of the water and shouted, "Why are you following me? Why are you still moving? *CK this damn dog." As expected, he wanted to drag me down with him and be unlucky. Yi Fan cursed silently. The large black dog rushed forward, sticking close to the surface of the water. His bald tail straightened and he sprinted madly toward the shore. Under the lake, a few blurry figures with long black hair and white robes streaked past, causing Yi Fan's heart to palpitate in fear. What were those things? Chapter 242. The mist was hazy and water splashed everywhere. The large black dog trod on the water, running on the waves. He was like a black arrowhead as he quickly rushed ashore. What's going on? Why are they moving? He was very disheveled and turned around to look. *CK this damn dog really deserves a beating. Yi Fan almost went over to smack him again. He looked askance at him. Brat, you're really unkind. You actually didn't help me just now and just stood on the shore and watched. The large black dog turned around and bared his teeth. I wanted to help, but I just wanted to smack you. Yi Fan stood on the shore and looked at him a few times. Then he looked at the blurry figures in the water and said, What did you see? The large black dog knew that he was in the wrong, so he didn't argue too much. He wandered around the lake, mumbling something. What are you saying? I saw celestial maidens, all of them beautiful and beautiful. I can't help but feel pity for them. Let's go down and investigate together? The large black dog said. If you feel pity for them, then they definitely aren't celestial maidens. They're most likely a large wolf dog. Woof woof. Brat, are you tired of living? The large black dog's bald tail stood up. Alright, stop biting me. My legs are full of your teeth marks. Yi Fan hurriedly comforted him. He was still hoping that he could find the Western Emperor's scripture, so he didn't want to provoke him. Around the lake, the spiritual chi was so thick that it could almost condense into liquid. It was a holy cultivation ground that cultivators dreamed of. The water was dotted and mist drifted. Everything underwater was very blurry, and a few figures slowly disappeared into the depths of the lake. Their figures were stiff and they wore sackcloth. Their black hair was loose and they looked very frightening underwater. They were like water ghosts, very strange. They're all corpses? Yi Fan asked in detail. The large black dog's expression darkened and he said, How unlucky. This is clearly a celestial lake, a place where celestial maidens come out to bathe. I excitedly went down to search for the holy treasure, but in the end, I'm really unlucky. There's something good that you want to take for yourself, and when you see an evil creature, you want me to go down to accompany you? Yi Fan glared at him. Let's go down together. Maybe we can find a treasure, the large black dog urged. I'm not going. I'm not interested in corpses. Yi Fan refused. Lad, don't regret it. This is the most important place in the Jade Lake. If there are no corpses in the lake, I want to take them all away. In the past, this pool was well known under the heavens, the North region's most famous immortal pool. Spiritual essence was dense, to the extent where there was even a source within the pool. Drinking the water of this pool for a long time could prolong the lifespan of mortals, and the effect was even better for cultivators. The pure and holy nature of the women of Jade Lake was related to this. It could slowly improve their physique, and after dozens or hundreds of years, their bodies would be flawless. The water of the Jade Lake was the best source of water for refining medicine. Some great sects and sacred grounds would even come here to ask for water when refining precious divine pills. The materials used by the Western Empress to refine her extreme weapon were dug out from this celestial pond. Perhaps we'll be able to reap some benefits if we go down there, the large black dog said enticingly. Stop dreaming. If I did, would I still be here? Yi Fan scoffed. The requirements for the materials used to refine an extreme weapon were too high. Emperors had a very long lifespan, much longer than ordinary cultivators, but even if they searched all over the world, they still might not be able to gather all of them. Holy objects like Phoenix blood gold were extremely rare, and could only be found by chance. Moreover, to refine an extreme weapon, it had to be made from the most precious materials since the world's creation. Thus, since ancient times, regardless of whether it was lost or existing extreme weapons, there were only a few of them in the eastern wasteland. That's hard to say. Perhaps there really is a celestial material left behind. The large black dog's eyes flashed. The Jade Lake has already been evacuated. Even if there was anything left, it would have already been searched clean. How could it possibly be left behind for you? Yi Fan was unmoved. What do you know? This pool is very mysterious. The Western Empress founded her sect here because of it. Perhaps there are other things at the bottom of the pool. I suspect that the so-called Jade Lake Celestial was triggered by this pool. There are indeed corpses. You've already seen them, so what else is there to investigate? Why did the Jade Lake evacuate? Why are there so many corpses in the pool? Don't you want to find out? The large black dog was displeased. If I was powerful enough, I would excavate the entire Origin Ancient Mine, as well as the 9 sacred mountains of the Forbidden Ancient Lands. But now, I only want to obtain the Western Emperor's scripture, and I don't want to take any risks. If you don't go down with me, don't even think about obtaining the Western Emperor's scripture in this lifetime. The large black dog bared his teeth. F***ck, this damn dog is even threatening me. Yi Fan cursed in his heart. The lake water was warm and the water splashed up. It was as translucent as jade, and its spiritual energy was oppressive. It automatically entered one's body through one's pores. The people of the Jade Lake bathe in this water every day, so it's impossible for their cultivation not to improve. Why don't I just wait until I find enough energy and cultivate in seclusion here? I'll definitely improve by leaps and bounds then, Yi Fan exclaimed. What? Now you know the benefits, right? Do you think I would lie to you? The large black dog had a proud expression. Why are you so proud? Hurry up and go down. I'll follow behind you. I'll soak for a while longer. I'll go down after I've recovered enough energy. I'll feel a little uneasy. The large black dog felt slightly guilty. Have you snuck in here before? Yi Fan closed his eyes to enjoy the experience, and asked this evil black dog. I'd like to, but I never had the chance. I've only heard of it before, so I'm going to properly experience it today. I reckon that only the important figures of the Jade Lake can enter this pool, right? Yi Fan asked. The ultimate weapon left behind by the Western Empress has always been suppressed in the pool, and ordinary people indeed can't enter. Only the Western Empress, the Holy Maiden, and the Grand Elders can enter. However, the water in the pool can be drawn out for the use of other disciples. The ultimate weapon is always at the bottom of the pool. Yi Fan was astonished. Unfortunately, it was taken away by the people of the Jade Lake. The large black dog was extremely greedy. There was a huge splash and the large black dog sank into the pool. Yi Fan followed behind him, and only slowly approached the bottom of the pool after descending for over 100 meters. F***ck. Yi Fan felt his scalp go numb. The bottom of the pool was densely packed with the corpses of young women. How was this a celestial lake? This was clearly a burial pit. There were several hundred corpses, and the center of the lake was completely filled up. Their slender arms and slender legs were still glowing, but their bodies were stiff, and there was no sign of life. The corpses of the women all had disheveled hair, and their faces were pale. They wore white linen garments that had the mark of the Jade Lake on them, and their hair was like snakes that danced in the wind. In the dim bottom of the lake, it would cause one's hair to stand on end. It was no wonder that when the large black dog had descended for the first time, he had leaped out of the water in shock, and wanted to lure him down as well. This was clearly a celestial lake, yet the scene was like this, and it was indeed terrifying. There were no fish or aquatic plants in the celestial lake, and it was deathly silent. Apart from the corpses, there was nothing else. Go and look for treasures. I'll wait for you here, Yi Fan transmitted his voice through his divine sense. Why do I feel slightly uneasy? The large black dog muttered. A dozen or so corpses slowly floated up and they swam over. They moved with the ripples of the water and did not rise up by themselves, but even so, it was still terrifying. There was a waxy substance on the surface of the corpses, and they had long since become corpses of wax. Even so, they should not have remained undecayed forever, and this caused Yi Fan to feel slightly puzzled. Are you going to look for treasures or not? If not, we'll go and look for the Western Emperor's scripture, Yi Fan urged. Brat, go and see if they have any injuries and how they died. The large black dog transmitted his voice in an extremely disrespectful manner. Why don't you go? Yi Fan wanted to give him a good beating. They are all celestial maidens and all of them are as beautiful as flowers. They are pleasing to the eye but my hair stands on end, the large black dog said. I want to smack your dog head. *CK, how can you say that? In the end, Yi Fan and the Black Emperor dove down together to examine the corpses. However, the two of them carefully examined the corpses of the several hundred Jade Lake disciples without any injuries, and they could not see any fatal injuries. Stop looking. We can't stay in this place for long. Something is not right, Yi Fan urged. I want to know why the Jade Lake retreated. Perhaps it has something to do with this lake? The large black dog was very persistent. If you can find out, it will be really troublesome. All the members of the Jade Lake have retreated, and if the two of us really discover any clues, it will be purely seeking death, Yi Fan said in a low voice. Hurry up and look for treasures. Otherwise we will immediately retreat. The large black dog was also slightly scared. Even though he was conceited, when he thought of all the members of a holy land retreating, his heart also began to pound. What exactly is the reason that made the most prosperous holy land in the eastern wilderness retreat? The Black Emperor dove down to the bottom of the lake, and began to search around, wanting to try his luck in finding celestial materials. In the end, after searching for an hour, the bottom of the lake had become muddy because of him, and he only found a few jade hairpins. Suddenly Yi Fan felt a chill run down his spine, and he suddenly turned around. Just behind him, among the pile of female corpses, black hair was messy, and all of it was dancing wildly. Suddenly he vaguely saw a pair of eerie eyes open, and through the pile of corpses, a cold and eerie light shot out. Under this gloomy lake water, Yi Fan's scalp was slightly numb, and he suddenly stepped on the water rushing upwards. There were corpses floating above him, and the hair of one of the corpses tangled around his ankle. He forcefully shook it off and with a splash he broke through the water rushing ashore. The lake water trembled and in almost an instant the large black dog rushed out, scurrying and rushing, his bald tail carrying 3 female corpses. Brat, hurry up and help. The large black dog rushed ashore as if his butt was on fire. On his bald tail, the hair of the 3 female corpses were tangled, and they were brought ashore. The Black Emperor fiercely swung his tail, and finally managed to shake them off. Not long after the 3 female corpses came into contact with the air, they instantly melted into 3 pools of liquid. Yi Fan felt a wave of disgust. He had just been soaking in the lake and now he saw this scene. There seems to be something below. What did you see just now? The large black dog asked with a dark expression. I seem to have seen a corpse open its eyes. Now that I think about it, it seems like 2 pearls embedded in the bottom of the lake. Why don't you go down and take a look? In any case, you want to search for treasures, Yi Fan said unkindly. *CK, I'm not looking for treasures anymore. The large black dog shook his fur violently, and water droplets flew in all directions. His body was black and glossy, and not a single drop of water could be seen on it. He said, the celestial lake has become a ghost lake, so there must be something below. Jade Lake Celestial, I think it's a ghost flying. Why do you think there are so many corpses? The people of the Jade Lake should have buried them. Why would they throw them into the celestial lake? Yi Fan was very confused. Who knows what's going on? Who knows who threw them down? No matter what, they won't go down. The large black dog was a little scared. Yi Fan and the Black Emperor distanced themselves from the celestial lake. Looking into the distance, the mist there was swirling. It was unknown whether it was a psychological effect or something else, but it felt slightly gloomy and no longer holy and pure. This was an important place and there were many majestic palaces that had stood until now. They still did not decay and contained extremely profound Tao patterns that could allow them to exist forever. Yi Fan walked into a huge palace. The floor was paved with jade stones and it was bright and clean without a single speck of dust. Even though a long period of time had passed, the palace still had a purifying effect, and there was still not a speck of dust. Thud, thud, thud. In the spacious palace only his own footsteps echoed and they traveled especially far. Creak creak, clang clang. He pushed open the door that had not been opened for countless years, and the sound of the palace echoed. It was as if he had stepped into the ancient Jade Lake. Standing here, it was as if he could feel the glory of the past. There was a group of beautiful celestial maidens that transcended this land, and they flashed with dazzling light under this starry sky. Yi Fan stood for a long time before walking forward, passing through one palace after another. In the tall and vast palace there was nothing. It was completely empty, and there was only the silence left behind by time. Yi Fan did not find anything, and it was impossible for him to find anything. The large black dog wandered around and passed through a dozen or so huge palaces. In the end he also returned empty-handed. Does the Jade Lake have medicinal fields? So many years have passed, and if they still exist, perhaps they can grow godly medicines. Yi Fan had just finished speaking when the large black dog dashed out, transforming into a streak of black light. He was as fast as he could be. This damn dog is too unreliable. Yi Fan cursed. He chased closely behind. If it was not for the fact that he had cultivated the old lunatic's movement technique, he would definitely have been left behind. The large black dog ran madly, stirring up a gust of black wind. After running for more than 20 kilometers, he rushed into a lush land. Only then did the large black dog stop and wandered around this mountain range. Black Emperor, you are too unkind. You run faster than a rabbit when you hear the words medicinal field. Why are you not running now? Yi Fan mocked. Am I that unkind? I'm waiting for you. Let's go find it together, the large black dog said. Why would you be so kind? It must be because you can't find it, right? Yi Fan walked over. This mountain range was full of vitality, and there were green plants everywhere. However, there were no medicinal herbs, and there was no smell of medicinal fragrance. Strange, putting aside those rare natural treasures, why can't I even see the most ordinary medicinal herbs? The large black dog muttered in an almost inaudible voice. Black lines appeared on Yi Fan's forehead. This damn dog really couldn't find it, and it was not waiting here out of goodwill. In the end, the large black dog sighed sorrowfully and said, "This is too cruel. The people of the Jade Lake have moved the entire medicinal field away." If one looked closely, they would discover that there was a huge square pit in the open space in front of them. Even the ground had been taken away. A bad feeling welled up in Yi Fan's heart. Could it be that the Western Emperor's scripture had also been taken away by someone? Even though the large black dog had repeatedly guaranteed that the people of the Jade Lake would not touch that precipice, now he was uncertain. Hurry up and find the Western Emperor's scripture. If the scripture is also gone, I will have the urge to kill someone. Don't worry, no one can understand those scriptures. Even the queen mothers of the Jade Lake in the past might not know about them. Even if they are placed in front of you, you won't be able to recognize them. They were created by the Western Emperor Mother when she comprehended Tao, and outsiders can't see anything at all. No one knows that she was the one who carved them. Then how do you know? Yi Fan was doubtful. What kind of existence is this emperor? I have heard of this secret with my own ears. The large black dog said proudly. Regretfully, they left the medicinal field and quickly rushed toward a mountain range. In this place, not even a blade of grass grew. There were precipices everywhere, and there were stone mountains everywhere. There was no soil and only large rocks. Just as they entered the mountain range, Yi Fan was stunned. There was a woman carved on the stone wall, and it gave off a feeling that the Tao diagram was naturally formed. Although it was a stone carving, it had a natural Tao, and the wondrous state of being one with heaven and man. This is only a diagram and there are no techniques. It is just a standing posture, so why does it give off a feeling of being one with heaven and man? Yi Fan was truly astonished. Let's go. There should be many diagrams in this mountain range. If you want to see them, you can slowly study them, the large black dog urged. Yi Fan reluctantly walked forward, but that diagram kept appearing in his mind. Chapter 243. Stone mountains stood in great numbers, and not even a blade of grass grew on them. The precipices were as if they had been carved by a knife, and they were straight up and down. The cliffs were tall, and when put together they looked like steps leading to the heavens. There was not a speck of soil in this region, and there was not a single blade of grass. The stone mountains were continuous, and there were also many stone forests. The large rocks were either like crouching cows or like green bamboo shoots. They were all in different shapes and could be considered a marvelous sight. After Yi Fan entered the mountain, he looked around. This stone land gave him a very special feeling, as if there was an outer realm lying across this place. Each mountain had its own realm, and each rock had its own scenery. It was as if someone had used a large brush to carve out a natural path of the great Tao. Every mountain and rock here attracted his attention. After entering this mountainous region, Yi Fan discovered that many of the carvings had already become blurry under the erosion of wind, frost, rain, and snow. He could only vaguely make out them. Unfortunately, most of them were not so-called cultivation techniques. Many of them were records of some ancient events, and there were even some pictures of scenery such as hundreds of birds and rare beasts. They were vivid and lifelike. Why did the fairies of the Jade Pool carve these? Yi Fan was suspicious and he carefully observed them. These are all great events that once happened in the Jade Pool. Unfortunately, it is difficult to understand their meaning now. After walking forward a few dozen steps, Yi Fan arrived in front of a mountain wall. He was instantly stunned. The stone carvings on it were very special. There were 2 figures engraved on it, and one of them was actually not a human. It was a man who was 2 meters tall. He had 4 pairs of divine wings and he was handsome and imposing. He had a total of 8 arms below his shoulders, and each of them was like a dragon, thick and powerful. There was a vertical eye between his brows. And in front of him was a beautiful and graceful woman. She was like a majestic queen, and her bearing was extraordinary, making others feel reverence. It really does record some great events that once happened in the Jade Pool. An unknown creature and a supreme elite of the Jade Pool confronted each other. Yi Fan was astonished. To be more precise, it was a confrontation with a queen mother, the large black dog said. Unfortunately, there was only one carving and there was no follow-up, so they did not know the outcome of the confrontation. They walked forward and looked carefully along the way. There were pictures of the monster king welcoming, and there were pictures of the new queen mother inheriting the throne. They were all single pictures and they were extremely simple. It wasn't that they couldn't see anything. When they arrived at a stone forest, Yi Fan finally saw a move. There was a large blue stone shaped like a crouching tiger. There was half a stone inscription, and a figure was forming hand seals. Although it was incomplete with only half a body missing, it was still quite profound. The seal technique was very familiar to Yi Fan, and after thinking about it carefully, he realized that it was the embracing mountain seal. The ultimate art of the Li Fire sect was precisely this type of imprint art. It was extremely powerful and he had evolved it into one of the battle saint arts. He didn't want to see it here again. Someone erased half of it. Yi Fan had a bad feeling. So many years had passed, so could the Western Emperor's scripture still exist? Could it be that it had also been erased by someone? He didn't really believe the large black dog's words. Hurry up and bring me to the Western Emperor's scripture, Yi Fan urged. Aren't we currently looking for it? Perhaps it's hidden in these wall paintings, the Black Emperor replied. Don't tell me you don't know its exact location. Correct, that's exactly the case. I'm also looking for it, the large black dog replied calmly with his head held high. This dog was really unreliable. Yi Fan really wanted to give him a kick, but there was nothing he could do now. In the end he still had to rely on him. Are you confident that you can find it? I'll most likely be able to find it, the large black dog replied with an uncertain tone. Yi Fan took out the Bodhi seed and held it in his hand as he sensed his surroundings. He couldn't completely rely on this large dog now, so he had to search for it himself. The large black dog wore a harmless expression and he walked closer. Then he suddenly lowered his black mouth and bit down on his hand. F***ck you damn dog, you're attacking me again. Yi Fan was already on guard against him, and he hurriedly rushed into the sky. So stingy. Isn't it just a nut? It smells very fragrant and I want to taste what the nut tastes like. The large black dog who had failed in his sneak attack, was stubborn and refused to admit his mistake. However, his eyes would occasionally glance at the Bodhi seed. If you dare to attack me again, you can forget about that black tortoise for the rest of its life. Hurry up and find the Western Emperor's scripture for me. If you can't obtain it, you'd better give up as soon as possible. Don't raise any conditions for me, Yi Fan said with a dark expression. The large black dog tilted his head to look at Yi Fan and said, Brat, what kind of nut is that in your hand? Can it be eaten? Don't play dumb with me. What's the origin of that stupid nut of yours? I saw a bald man on it just now and it seemed quite similar. Did you carve it on? Yi Fan knew that this dark and wicked damn dog was up to no good again, and had designs on the Bodhi seed. No matter what, he couldn't let it see this seed. Who is that bald man? Why do I feel like he's slightly unusual? Seeing that Yi Fan was ignoring him, the large black dog could no longer keep his cool. His name is Sakyamune. Have you heard of him? Yi Fan's heart jolted. What kind of stupid name is that? It only has 4 characters. Is this Baldy very famous? The large black dog asked. Yi Fan was slightly speechless. The great Tathagata was being spoken to like this by a large dog. He glared and said, Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and find the Western Emperor's scripture for me. Brat, what kind of attitude is this? The large black dog bared his teeth and said, If you continue to be disrespectful to me, You can forget about obtaining the supreme ancient scripture of the human race. That's right, if you can find the Western Emperor's scripture, you have to give me that nut with the fat bald man carved on it as well. Yi Fan ignored him and walked into the distance. He looked at stone inscriptions one after another, and occasionally saw some incomplete techniques. Every time this happened, he would carefully analyze them. An hour later, Yi Fan arrived in front of a precipice. This was an extremely vast expanse of stone inscriptions, and there were over 100 of them. They were much longer than the ones he had seen just now. At first he did not pay much attention. That was because although the stone inscriptions were long, they were not all that profound. They were all the most common techniques. However, after looking at over 30 of them, his expression changed. It was these ordinary techniques, yet they were slowly elevated to a higher level. As he looked at them one after another, they gave off a feeling that they were turning something ordinary into something magical. He calmed his heart and focused and looked down. For a whole 2 hours Yi Fan did not say anything. Only when he looked at the end did he sigh. The Jade Pool is indeed worthy of being a holy land. These should be for the younger disciples to study, and they all contain deep meanings. They were not special secret techniques. They were all very common techniques that had been passed down widely. However, they were elevated from ordinary techniques, and when combined together, they could turn something ordinary into something magical, and they could display an unbelievable might. More than 100 ordinary techniques combined into one, yet they can evolve into a completely different kind of mighty power. How mysterious. Yi Fan pondered for a long time before continuing to walk down. He found another 100 or so stone inscriptions, and he carefully observed them. In the end he was truly shocked. This was a series, and there were more than 500 stone inscriptions in total. Yi Fan was extremely shocked. This was a supreme secret technique being deduced. From ordinary to profound, he immediately saw through the mysteries within. This was deducing an offensive technique of the 9 secret techniques. The Jade Pool's unparalleled experts were shocking. They started out ordinary and gradually evolved into the Battle Saint technique, wanting to recreate the 9 secret techniques. Turning something ordinary into something magical, and deriving a great offensive technique of the 9 secret techniques, this person was definitely a shocking and outstanding character. Unfortunately, she failed in the end and could not deduce the Battle Saint technique. Such a character was rare since ancient times. Those techniques were all related to the legends of the Battle Saint technique. This person had derived it to this stage, which was shocking enough. He was definitely a peerless character. Connecting the bits and pieces that have been passed down in the world, to be able to deduce to this stage, it is truly astonishing. Yi Fan sighed. This person went from simple to complex, but the Battle Saint technique had tens of thousands of transformations. It could never reach the pinnacle, and it was very difficult to reach the end of complex. The true 9 secret offensive Saint technique was to first obtain one, then transform into tens of thousands, to the end of complexity, and then return to one. It was impossible for others to derive it. This technique was the ultimate simplicity of the Great Tao. Yi Fan stood in silence for a long time, pondering in detail. Although this deduction had strayed from the correct path, it had given him great inspiration, allowing him to have a further understanding of the Battle Saint technique. Even if one was a peerless genius, without first obtaining the 9 secret imprints, one would not be able to derive such a supreme technique. Yi Fan pondered for a very long time. He felt that he could improve the might of this offensive Saint technique a little more. This was really an unexpected gain. The geniuses of the Jade Pool had given him great inspiration. The sky had already darkened. Yi Fan continued to look at the diagrams in the night. When it was late at night, he had already looked through most of the diagrams, but the Western Emperor's scripture was still nowhere to be seen. There are no mysterious techniques here at all, and even if there are, they are only some ordinary techniques. You aren't trying to trick me, are you? Yi Fan's expression was unkind as he stared at the large black dog. Didn't I say that even if I saw the Western Emperor's scripture, I might not be able to recognize it? I need to slowly analyze it, the large black dog said. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Yi Fan strode forward, and he had almost gone through all the cliffs, but he still could not find the Western Emperor's scripture. I found it, it's here, the large black dog shouted. In the deep night, his voice traveled especially far, echoing endlessly. With a few leaps Yi Fan approached. This stone mountain had a majestic aura, but there were no so-called scriptures on it, and it was completely bare. Where is it? This mountain is a part of the scripture. Whether you can obtain it or not will depend on your luck, the large black dog replied with his head raised. You are doing this half-heartedly. You casually pointed out a stone mountain and said it was the Western Emperor's scripture. How do you want me to believe you? Can you find the scripture? Yi Fan questioned. That will depend on your comprehension ability, the large black dog stammered. Don't try to trick me. Yi Fan glared at him. The large black dog was also anxious and he said, there is definitely a part of the scripture here. I heard someone say it with my own ears. What did you hear back then? Yi Fan asked. The stone mountain with a sun carved on it has a part of the scripture, and the stone mountain with an ancient tree has a part of the scripture. According to what the large black dog had said, the Western Emperor's scripture had been hastily created, and the Western Emperor Mother had been comprehending it while carving it down on this stone mountain. On this precipice there was indeed a blurry sun, but it was only the size of a palm. Even if one observed it carefully, it was very difficult to imagine that it had been carved by someone, and it seemed very natural. This ring is the so-called Western Emperor's scripture? You aren't joking, right? The large black dog raised his head, tilted his neck and said, that has nothing to do with me. You need to comprehend it yourself. This damn dog. Yi Fan really wanted to teach it a lesson but he knew that he couldn't. In the end he flew onto the stone cliff, and observed that sun. Yi Fan caressed that sun brand with one hand, and held the Bodhi seed in his other hand. However, even after meditating for a long time, he still couldn't sense any abnormalities. Black Emperor, you are lying. What scripture is there here? There definitely is, but it requires an astonishing comprehension ability. Whether you can obtain the Western Emperor's scripture will depend on your own ability. When the large black dog said these words, he was more or less lacking in confidence. On the cliff, Yi Fan held the Bodhi seed in his hand. His heart was empty and he quietly experienced it. However, it was completely silent and he couldn't discover anything. How many great emperors have there been since ancient times? The scriptures left behind by these people aren't so easy to obtain. The large black dog shouted from below. I have found the Western Emperor's scripture for you, but whether you can comprehend it or not is your own matter. You must give that black tortoise to me. There was a portion of the Western Emperor's scripture recorded in the Origin Heavenly Book, and it belonged to the Tao Palace scroll. At this moment Yi Fan silently circulated it, and pressed the Bodhi seed against that sun. Boom. Suddenly, a brilliant light surged up, and a sun rose up from the stone cliff. It was incredibly scorching and Yi Fan was completely swallowed up. The entire stone mountain became completely red and flames surged. The great fire burned half of the sky red. The red sun hung in the sky, massive and vigorous. Yi Fan stood in the sun, and his appearance was solemn and dignified. F***ck, how can he really learn it? Apart from astonishing comprehension ability, doesn't he also need the Jade Pool's scripture guidance? What a great loss, I really let this brat obtain the Western Emperor's scripture. The large black dog's expression was filled with bad luck, and it was as if he had eaten a dead child. Chapter 244. The big black dog felt unlucky. It was a pity that Yi Fan couldn't see it. Otherwise he would have to fight it even if he might get bitten. At this moment, above the cliff, the sun was like a mountain, filling the sky. It was white everywhere as if daytime had arrived. Yi Fan was at the center of the sun, seated cross-legged in meditation without moving at all. His expression was tranquil and aloof, and he was completely immersed in a type of Tao state. The scripture guide recorded in the Book of Source of Heaven had triggered the mark left by the West Empress, and the sun appeared. The palm-sized sun was an unimaginable mark of Tao. It contained the mark of the West Empress. Even after hundreds of thousands of years, it still existed in the world. Yi Fan's mind was clear as he bathed in the fire. His heart was as red as the sun, shining brilliantly into the sky and illuminating the palace. The scriptures he learned from the Book of Source of Heaven were far from enough. They were incomplete, but he was mending them now. His heart was like the sun in the sky, corresponding to the sun outside. Essence overflowed. The innate essence was born and the acquired essence was nourished. The fiery essence and surging Tao flowed from the human-shaped sun to every inch of his flesh and blood. His whole body was red and then slowly transparent. Fire clouds covered his body, and his heart was cleansed of all impurities. The inside and outside of the palace were clear, and his flesh gradually became translucent. This was a completely new change. Inside the heart, the fiery essence flowed along a more complicated path, including the innate and acquired ones. Yi Fan didn't move, using his heart to feel this change. The sun that filled the sky didn't have any scriptures or sound inside. There was only a kind of Tao rhythm, but it vividly explained the divine treasures of the heart of the Tao Palace's secret realm. The sun carved on the cliff corresponded to the scroll of the heavenly sun of the Tao Palace. After Yi Fan triggered it, he didn't get the specific scripture, but he could feel the mysterious evolution process. This kind of inheritance didn't leave a word or a word. Only the conception of the creator was used to deduce the various changes of the ancient scripture. It didn't include the text of the West Emperor scripture, but it was comparable to the ancient scripture. Yi Fan sat motionlessly until the sun rose and the morning glow shone on him. Only then did he suddenly open his eyes. At the same time, the great sun in the sky turned into tens of thousands of flames with a bang and rushed into the imprint on the stone cliff. Yi Fan felt that the section of the divine treasury of the heart of the Holy Ji Palace had been perfected, and it was very different from before. He felt that the circulation of his power of the Tao was smoother, and the essence of his body was surging. He welcomed the morning glow as he stood on the cliff. His clothes fluttered in the wind, and his skin was like jade. Although he was a young man, he had the temperament of an immortal. "Did you really obtain the Western Emperor's scripture?" the large black dog asked, unwilling to accept this. "What do you mean? Do you think that even if you bring me here and guide me, I won't be able to cultivate the Western Emperor ancient scripture?" Yi Fan looked at it with an unfriendly expression. The large black dog chuckled sheepishly and said, "How could that be? Am I that unscrupulous? I'm just asking casually. Hurry up and bring me to find the other parts of the Western Emperor scripture," Yi Fan urged. "Brat, did you come into contact with the Western Emperor scripture in the past and obtain the so-called sutra guidance?" the large black dog asked. "What are you talking about? What is sutra guidance?" Yi Fan stared at it. F*ck, how can I cultivate it without obtaining the sutra guidance? I've suffered a great loss this time, the large black dog mumbled in an inaudible voice. Yi Fan's divine sense could take form, and it far surpassed his current cultivation level. He faintly heard its low murmur, and his face was instantly filled with black lines. This damn dog was indeed unreliable. "Black Emperor, have you found the Western Emperor ancient scripture?" "No, I've searched everywhere and this is the only place." The large black dog shook its head unkindly. "Nonsense, don't try to fool me. Hurry up and lead the way. You don't want that black tortoise anymore, do you?" Yi Fan threatened. "Lend me that nut with a bald head engraved on it. I'll definitely find the Western Emperor scripture with it." "Don't talk nonsense. Do you know what this seed is used for?" Yi Fan glanced sideways at it. "How come I don't know? Didn't you use it to trigger that sun and obtain the Western Emperor scripture?" "Don't have any wicked ideas." Yi Fan refused sternly. If he lent it to him, it would definitely be like throwing a meat bun at a dog. In the end, the large black dog compromised, and unhappily brought Yi Fan to another stone mountain. This mountain was engraved with a palm-sized metal essence mark. This time, Yi Fan was familiar with the process, and did not waste too much time before triggering the mark left behind by the Western Emperor Mother. In an instant, his aura soared into the sky, and the metal essence clanged. He was sucked into a sheet of metal divine light. He sat cross-legged in the sky, and his sea of aura gushed out like a tide. The divine treasury of the lungs belonged to the metal element, and it was the strongest of the 5 internal organs. It was known as the canopy, and now that the scripture had been completed, a sharp aura soared into the sky, and clanging sounds rang out as if 10,000 swords were clanging together. The surface of Yi Fan's body shone with a metallic luster, and it was like a sharp blade slicing through the sky. Its sharpness was oppressive and no one could take it head-on. There were no scriptures here, only the evolution of the divine treasury of the lungs. It was explained to the extreme, and there was no need to use words to convey its path. The divine treasury of the lungs could draw in 10,000 qi, drawing in one's essence and spreading it throughout one's entire body, extending to one's skin and hair. It breathed in and out the essence of heaven and earth, and contained a thriving vitality. At this moment, the turbid aura in Yi Fan's Tao Palace had disappeared, and his divine essence was surging. It was sparkling and translucent, extending to his 6 internal organs and connecting to his limbs and bones. His flesh, skin and hair were incredibly clear. All qi belonged to the divine treasury of the lungs, and they were connected to heaven and earth. The essence that the physical body needed would be transformed through them. When the brilliance retracted, Yi Fan opened his eyes. He had completed the divine treasury of the lungs of the Tao Palace, and all the pores on his body relaxed. He felt that his physical body had become one with heaven and earth, and he could draw in 10,000 qi at any time. The Western Emperor scripture is profound as expected, seizing the fortune of heaven and earth. It's amazing. He had cultivated these 2 divine treasures before, and after being supplemented and perfected this time, he had experienced an even more profound meaning. It was as if a deity was covering his head, and his heart was completely clear. If I hadn't cultivated the scripture guidance, I wouldn't believe that I could obtain the Western Emperor scripture even if you beat me to death, the large black dog mumbled with a long face. Black Emperor, what are you mumbling about? The large black dog said fiercely. Brat, you've seduced the Jade Pool's saint before, right? Otherwise, you definitely wouldn't have obtained the Western Emperor scripture guidance. What nonsense are you talking about? Hurry up and take me to find other scriptures. It's not good to stay in the Jade Pool's old land for too long. After we're done here, we'll leave immediately. What happened next was very smooth. On a stone mountain with an ancient tree carved on it, Yi Fan found the divine treasury of the liver, and then the divine treasury of the spleen and divine treasury of the kidney were also obtained. The 5 divine treasures of the Tao Palace had been completed, but he hadn't cultivated the remaining 3 scriptures yet. He had merely perfected them and he memorized them in his heart. At this point, the Tao Palace scroll of the Western Emperor scripture was finally obtained by him, and he had a complete heart technique. Yi Fan stood silently for a long time, unable to hide his astonishment. This scripture was incredibly profound and mysterious. It revealed the secrets of heaven and stole the fortune of heaven and earth. You're really lucky. The Tao Palace scroll of the Western Emperor scripture can be said to be the best in the Eastern Wasteland. It's the most perfect heart technique, and you actually managed to gather all 5 divine treasures. The large black dog bared his teeth and said, Hurry up and give it to me. What are you in such a hurry for? I've only just obtained the Tao Palace scroll. The Western Emperor scripture includes several major mystery realms, and there are still 4 scrolls that I haven't obtained yet, Yi Fan said with a smile. You're even greedier than me, the large black dog gritted his teeth as he evaluated. They had only found one of the seals of the 4 mystery realms, but even if Yi Fan had the Bodhi seed in his hand, he still couldn't activate it. After trying for a long time, he still couldn't obtain it at all. Do I really need the scripture guidance? He immediately thought of the Western Emperor scripture guidance that the Black Emperor had mentioned. Not long after, they found the seal of the other mystery realm, but unfortunately they still couldn't activate it, so they couldn't obtain this scripture. I had thought that you could compete with the Great Emperor, and that you could obtain the Western Emperor scripture without the scripture guidance. From the looks of it now, you must have seduced the Holy Maiden of the Jade Pool, and cultivated the scripture guidance of the Tao Palace scroll. You damn dog, you knew about this earlier but you didn't tell me. Instead you tricked me into coming here. Did you want me to come here for nothing? Brat, you're challenging my dignity. Be careful that I don't eat you. The large black dog shouted fiercely. Isn't that the truth? Yi Fan glared at him. I'm so righteous, so how could I be so careless? I naturally have a way to resolve this. I just wanted to wait until you arrived here and offered up the profound tortoise before telling you. You're really good at scheming. You lured me here, and after I saw the true scripture, I was unable to extricate myself, yet you couldn't activate it, so I had no choice but to offer up the green jade profound tortoise. Is that right? Yi Fan resisted the urge to smack him and said, Luckily, I have the scripture guidance of the Tao Palace scroll. Don't think so lowly of me. The large black dog did not blush at all and tempted him. Could it be that you don't want the other scrolls of the Western Emperor scripture? You damn dog, you're really sly. Do you have the scripture of the 4 extremes? How are you going to help me obtain the Western Emperor 4 extreme scroll? Yi Fan stared at him fiercely and said, If you do, recite a part of it for me and let me hear it. The Black Emperor stammered. How could he possibly recite it? He opened his bloody mouth and said, Brat, you've profaned me time and time again, daring to call me a damn dog. I'm going to teach you a lesson. Damn dog, I also want to deal with you. Yi Fan formed a seal and took the initiative to launch a sneak attack, displaying the Battle Saint technique. The large black dog was not a kind person at all, and almost at the same time he attacked with his black mouth. Damn dog's nature is really hard to change, only knowing how to use underhanded means. This time you were the one who launched a sneak attack on me first. If I didn't make the first move, I would have been bitten by the dog again. Damn brat, you're insulting me. Yi Fan and the Black Emperor began to battle in the stone forest. Both of them had freakish physiques, and their battle shook the heavens. When they clashed, it was like they were forging iron. Brat, no matter what, you've obtained the Tao Palace scroll of the Western Emperor scripture, so give me the black tortoise, the large black dog shouted as he bit. As if I give it to you. You actually want to get something for nothing? Don't even think about it in this lifetime. Yi Fan's golden palm began to move, pushing the sun-moon seal and raising the mountains and rivers seal, attacking with all his strength. Do you want me to work for nothing? The large black dog bared his teeth and threatened. Damn dog, what did you eat to grow up? Even the battle saint technique can't hurt you. Yi Fan cursed. Damn, so it's the 9 secrets. I was wondering why it was so painful. It's almost killing me. The large black dog's wails were definitely not an act. Yi Fan was continuously bitten over a dozen times and he was really a bit speechless. The battle saint technique could only make his opponent feel pain, so what was this? Damn dog, you're really a freak. You're the freak. If the cultivators of the 4 extremes mystery realm were to be smashed into pieces by your palm, only this emperor would be able to withstand it. *CK, it hurts so much. The large black dog bared his teeth and wailed in pain. Boom. All of a sudden, a terrifying wave shook out and a few dozen kilometers away black fog surged into the sky. That part of the sky suddenly became as black as ink. The Celestial Lake. It's from the Celestial Lake. Yi Fan and the large black dog immediately stopped fighting and made the same choice, running madly toward the exit. Right at the origin of the Jade Lake, an extremely terrifying wave surged out from the Celestial Lake and dark clouds rolled. That's a Celestial Lake. What happened? Could it be that the retreat of the members of the Jade Lake has something to do with this? Not long ago they had even gone deep into the lake to investigate. When they thought of this, both Yi Fan and the Black Emperor felt a chill. Their speed was extremely fast and it didn't take long for them to reach the dried-up lake. They rushed toward the ancient well along the large crack. Although something strange had happened to the Celestial Lake, nothing chased them down, which made them heave a sigh of relief. At this moment Yi Fan wailed. His left hand was bitten by the large black dog, and he wouldn't let go no matter what. I hashtag it yen%yen. Why are you always making fun of me? Brat, I can't fly. When we reach the ancient well, you'll run away by yourself and leave me here. I'll bite you first, the Black Emperor muttered while biting his left hand. After we get out, let's never meet again. I'm a cultivator of the Dao Palace Mystery Realm, yet I'm being bitten by you every day. Following the river, they successfully returned to the ancient well. Yi Fan soared into the sky with the Black Emperor, and not long after they arrived on the ground. The sun shone brightly and the land was empty. The scenery of the Jade Lake could no longer be seen, and this trip gave them a very surreal feeling. Yi Fan abandoned the Black Emperor and immediately flew away. The large black dog was extremely angry and cursed. Brat, you obtained the Western Emperor's scripture, but you haven't given it to me, and you haven't told me the whereabouts of the ancient scripture left behind by the Demon Emperor. If you dare to escape, I won't let you off. You return to the stone stronghold first, I'll find you later. Yi Fan transmitted his voice as he fled. Brat, you want to go back on your words? The large black dog shouted. If you dare to run, I'll tell all your secrets and ask the Ji clan and the Yaoguang Holy Land for a reward. Yi Fan slowed down, feeling that this large black dog was really difficult to deal with. Brat, you actually want to escape, trying to deceive me. Black Emperor, you still have the nerve to say that. You don't have this scripture guidance, yet you lured me here. It was you who wanted to deceive me first. The large black dog knew that he was in the wrong and said, no matter what, you've already obtained the Western Emperor's scripture, fulfill your promise. Yi Fan stroked his chin, thought for a moment and said, I can't give you the black tortoise for now, but I can take you to find the ancient scripture of the Demon Emperor. You can't be thinking of tricking me, right? The large black dog was suspicious. Do you think I'm you? Don't worry, I definitely won't be so dishonest, Yi Fan replied. I think you're even more dishonest than me. The large black dog bared his teeth. If you want to find the ancient scripture of the Demon Emperor, you might have to enter the secluded residence of a great elite. Do you think you can succeed? Yi Fan asked. Great elite? You really know how to ask difficult questions. Although it's in that kind of place, we might not necessarily encounter a great elite. The ancient scripture isn't in his hands and it's in the hands of someone else. The large black dog pondered for a moment and said, I can try. Saying this, he suddenly raised his head, gritted his teeth and said, Brat, you can't be deceiving me, right? Don't think of me as such a bad person. Do you think I'm like you? Dark and wicked? Yi Fan replied. The large black dog stared at him and said, You're very unreliable. I should be the one saying that. After entering the Jade Lake, have you done a single reliable thing? Yi Fan questioned. Then he continued, the person who has the ancient scripture has 2 souls in his body. Do you have a way to extract one of them? The large black dog was suspicious and he said, Brat, why do I feel like you're up to no good? Am I that kind of person? From the beginning to the end, you've always been the dishonest one. Yi Fan exposed his shortcomings. Then he said, "Don't worry, there might be some twists and turns in the process, but you'll definitely be able to obtain the ancient scripture." "I keep feeling that you're unreliable, brat." The large black dog stared at him. "It's because you've done too many bad things and you're always scheming against others. That's why you think of others as bad as you," Yi Fan said with a sneer. "I'll believe you for now. However, brat, you'd better think carefully. If you dare to scheme against me, I'll make sure you have nowhere to go." The large black dog threatened fiercely. Chapter 245. Along the way, Yi Fan focused on comprehending the Western Emperor's scripture and found it more and more profound and profound. The palace of Tao had 5 dragons coiling around it. It was dense inside and outside, and the 5 chi shot into the sky. Only now, after obtaining the complete Western Emperor's scripture, did Yi Fan understand why this secret realm was called the Palace of Tao. It was like an eternal palace that contained endless power of the Tao. The 5 great divine treasures were hazy, and behind them there were 5 looming ancient temples. They were tall and majestic, mysterious and blurry. When there was no self and nothing else, and the body and mind were at peace, one would hear the sonorous voice of the great Tao. It was like chanting, but also like the voice of ancient sacrifices. It was as if it crossed time and space and came from the distant past. It could be said to be very mysterious and even strange. How could there be such a sound in the human body? Before Yi Fan entered the secret realm of the Palace of Tao, he had heard people say that cultivating this secret realm would sometimes feel incredible and all sorts of inexplicable things would happen. When he obtained the complete Western Emperor's scripture and deduced the flawless heart of the ancient Western Emperor, he really felt this incredible feeling. The Palace of Tao was like the sky, transforming into the 5 palaces. Although it was blurry, one could feel its existence. Chanting and the ancient sacrificial voices cut through time and space and floated over. Yi Fan was puzzled and didn't understand why it was like this. He thought of the speculation of the people of the world. There were records in the ancient books that this was the passing self. Although he was born in the present, there was a me that lived in the past. It was the passing self that was chanting for this life. The passing self existed forever, transforming into the 5 chi and flowing through the Tao Palace. It chanted for itself, stirred the heaven and earth, captured traces of the Tao, and nourished its owner, allowing the me of this life to be immortal. This was a very mysterious way of saying that few could explain. This mystery was hard to explain. However, outstanding cultivators wouldn't believe in the so-called past life. The passing self wasn't the me of the previous life. Other than the passing self, there was another way of saying that the human body was like the heaven and earth, corresponding to the great world. The reason why the Palace of Tao was called the Palace of Tao was that it had the Tao self. It belonged to the side of Tao and corresponded to the great Tao of the great world. According to this theory, the chanting and the ancient sacrificial sounds emitted from the palace were actually the echoes of the Tao self and the great Tao of the world. It was the interaction between the inside and the outside. To be more precise, he was capturing traces of the Tao and comprehending the supreme principles of the heavenly Tao. The true nature of the Tao was not revealed on the outside, but contained within the 5 energies and silently drew upon the great Tao of the world. In other words, my Tao nature is comprehending the great Tao, comprehending the truth of longevity, and nourishing the life Lord. In other words, that was me. It wasn't some chanting or ancient ritual. I was comprehending the Tao. After Yi Fan obtained the flawless sutra of the Western Emperor, he finally realized how incredible the secret plane of the Holy Ji Palace was. Everything about it was beyond his comprehension. Cultivators pursue immortality. In the process of reaching the end of the immortal path, they will definitely encounter many similar things. I believe that since ancient times, perhaps only a few great emperors have been able to understand. Embarking on the path of cultivation, chasing after transcendence, allowing one's body to exist forever in this world, the road was long. If one wanted to truly comprehend the great Tao, there would be many unsolved riddles. Only by walking further on this path could one slowly understand. Yi Fan finally understood why the ancient existences had only cultivated up to one concealed stage. There was a reason for that. Not to mention the sea of reincarnation, just this Holy Ji Palace alone had many areas that he did not understand. Passing self or Tao self. As for what they were, perhaps even a lifetime of cultivation would not be able to understand them. Yi Fan had a feeling that when he cultivated to the later stages, he might have to return to cultivate these secret planes again. There were still many secret powers that could be excavated from the sea of reincarnation and the Holy Ji Palace. However, he did not need to think too much at the moment. He had obtained the flawless mental cultivation method. With the Sutra of the Western Emperor in hand, it was enough for him to cultivate this secret plane into the great Tao Divine Watchtower. The future would be solved in the future. The old land of the Jade Pool was tens of thousands of miles away from the origin ancient mine. It took him more than half a month to leave the uninhabited area and get close to an oasis. Along the way, Yi Fan carefully comprehended the Sutra of the Western Emperor. Although his level did not increase, his strength improved greatly. Using the true flawless mental cultivation method, the divine power he produced was much stronger. This was the advantage of the ancient scripture. Ordinary mental cultivation methods could not compare at all. Using this cultivation method was equivalent to raising one's starting point, and their battle prowess would increase imperceptibly. The cultivation levels of the holy sons and holy daughters of the various great sage lands surpassed those of the same generation. This is largely related to this. Yi Fan sighed. This was especially so for a genius like the holy son of Yao Guang. He was a prodigy who had cultivated the peerless ancient scripture, so his battle prowess was even more terrifying. When he fought against elites of the same cultivation level, there was really no suspense at all. He could suppress those of the same generation with his strength. In these past half a month, Yi Fan had been comprehending the Western Emperor scripture while sparring with the large black dog, putting his knowledge into practice. The large black dog was the best sparring partner. With the perfect scroll of the Western Emperor Dao Palace in hand, his battle prowess had increased greatly. He used the battle saint technique, and the large black dog grimaced in pain. No, I want payment. I want to spar with you for free every day. How much of my divine power would that consume? The large black dog shouted. I'm being bitten by you every day and I still want to pay you. What are you thinking? Yi Fan retorted. Do you think I'm willing to bite you? Your skin is rough and your flesh is not delicious. You're making me waste my energy for nothing. These days the large black dog had been very passive. Whenever Yi Fan wanted to experience his knowledge, he would definitely look for him. Once he was done, he would rush into the sky, making the large black dog grind its teeth continuously. They walked out of the desolate no man's land and entered an oasis. Yi Fan glanced at the large black dog and said, You're as tall and big as a bull. You're really eye-catching and ugly. Can you become a little smaller? Brat, what are you saying? Such a strong and powerful precious body, even if I don't say it's as handsome as Jade, it's not far off. The large black dog raised his head. Yi Fan looked at his black silk-like body and said in a mocking tone, It's like jade that has fallen into a coal mine, right? This is called divine might. It's so masculine, do you understand? The large black dog's expression was unfriendly. This won't do. You're too eye-catching, so you have to become smaller. Yi Fan pondered for a moment and then said, If you're really unwilling, then you can temporarily become my mount. There are many people who ride on mutant beasts. Go and die. The large black dog's expression became very long. If it weren't for the fact that Yi Fan was flying in the air, he would definitely have pounced over. Don't be unwilling. I'm not willing to become a heavenly dog knight. If others saw me riding a bald dog, they would definitely laugh their heads off. At this moment they had just entered the oasis, and were still in a place where there were very few people. Occasionally there would be cultivators passing by, and when they saw the large black dog, they would involuntarily take a few glances. He was indeed very eye-catching. What are you looking at? Have you never seen a human pet before? The large black dog was displeased. When Yi Fan first heard this, he felt that it was very strange. Then he instantly understood. This large dog's words were really too immoral. He was saying that he was a human pet. F***ck damn dog, you're asking for a skin flaying, right? The large black dog raised his head and strode forward saying, I'm speaking the truth. Those people think that I'm strolling around with a human pet, and they can't stop looking. It's really annoying. You damn dog. Yi Fan's expression darkened, and he wanted to give it a good beating. Others were clearly looking at him, yet he actually said this kind of thing. Brat, I see that you're still a so-so. Why don't you become my human pet? The large black dog tilted his head and said. Ping pang ping dong dang clang. The sound of metal being forged rang out and they directly started fighting. Damn dog, I wouldn't even want you as my pet, and you still dare to spout nonsense like this. I also don't like a human pet like you. In the future I'll definitely find a holy son to be my pet. Yi Fan cursed in his heart. A large dog wanted to find a human pet, and he really deserved to be skinned and flayed. He was deliberately angering him. In the end, Yi Fan used the Demon Emperor's ancient scripture as a threat, and the large black dog finally gave in. He unwillingly shrunk his body, turning into the size of a firewood dog. If he didn't bald his tail, he wouldn't be more than 1 meter long. My supreme elegance has been seriously overshadowed. This is damaging to my image. Supreme elegance. Do you want to attract a pack of large wolf dogs? Woof. The large black dog pounced forward. Fortunately, Yi Fan was prepared. They didn't stop when they passed by some cities, and they directly headed toward the most flourishing city in this oasis. Brat, you're really unreliable. You don't even know where that great elite lives, and you still need to ask others for information. How are you going to take me to find the Demon Emperor's ancient scripture? The large black dog was extremely displeased. Don't say the word unreliable in front of me. You know what you did when you went to the Jade Lake, Yi Fan retorted. This oasis was called Chu Province, and it had a circumference of more than 3,000 miles. It wasn't a large province, but in the boundless north region, there were many oases like this. Chu Province was hundreds of thousands of miles away from the most flourishing holy city in the north region. It was a long journey and it was far from the center of the north region. It wasn't a flourishing place. The city in the center of this oasis was called Jianghu City, and it had a population of 900,000. It was the most flourishing ancient city in this prefecture, and it had a history of more than 1,000 years. Can you find the residence of that great elite? The large black dog asked when they were outside Jianghu City. There are 13 great bandits in the north region and he ranks 4th. He's the target of the great sage and we can't let outsiders know where he lives. I need to find a descendant of that bandit to ask. This was the city that Tu Fei and Li Heishui had told Yi Fan. If he wanted to find them, he could make some noise near Jianghu City in Chu Province. Jianghu City was a modeled city, and many layers of stone had fallen off the walls, showing the power of time. However, it was still very majestic and majestic. When he entered the city, Yi Fan found his own portrait. More accurately, it was a wanted poster hanging high on the city wall. The young face on the poster had been raised to 1 square yuan. Brat, you're quite valuable. The large black dog smiled wickedly. Go away. The streets were crowded with people and it was very lively. The large black dog darted here and there, biting whatever he wanted to eat. As a result, a group of creditors surrounded Yi Fan, and they hated him so much that the roots of his teeth were itching. Not long after he entered the city, he heard a piece of news. The young elites of Chu Province were going to have a grand meeting. Yi Fan chose a place to eat, which was beside a gambling den. Most of the people coming in and out of this place were cultivators. The young generation of Chu Province will gather together. There will most likely be something interesting to watch this time. This is the operation of the Ji clan, a noble family of the ancients. They sent out invitations mainly to mobilize their forces to help them find a person. The young elites of the Ji clan and the Yaoguang Holy Land will both be present. Otherwise, how could they have such a great rallying power? The person who made the 2 great sage mobilize such a large force is that little brat who is sticking on the city gate. I don't think he's anything special. This little brat burned the Grand Supreme Elder of the Ji clan to death. Can you do that? Yi Fan listened carefully, his expression calm. The Ji clan had really put in a lot of effort to find him. When he was in the southern region, he had already become the public enemy of the young generation of the Ji clan. This time, it was the result of the operation of the young generation of the Ji clan. There were similar grand meetings in other oases. Yi Fan rubbed his chin habitually and pondered. There were only 3 people in the young generation of the Ji clan who had reached the 4 levels mystery realm. The Yaoguang Holy Land was similar, and there were only 3 or 4 people. If the divine King Ji Haoyue did not come, and if the saint of Yaoguang did not show up, he did not mind revealing his true self and going to the grand meeting to start a massacre. If I reveal my true self and barge into the meeting and start a massacre, it would be like slapping the face of the Holy Land. But, wouldn't it cause too much of a commotion? Yi Fan thought to himself. He did have an urge. He was chased by the Ji clan all the way to the northern region, and the young generation of the Yaoguang Holy Land was also involved. He really could not hold back the urge to make a move. The reason why he had such an idea was that he had obtained the Book of Source Heaven and mastered the great art of changing heaven and earth. If he went there with his true self and caused a scene, it would be hard for the other party to find him. Chapter 246. The restaurant was next to the gambling den and business was very good. The people who came in and out were either cultivators or gambling on stones. They were very generous. On the second floor, near the window, there was a man dressed in green. He was only 21 or 22 years old. His skin was white and he looked a bit feminine. It was obvious that he was a disciple of an aristocratic family. Beside him, there was a pair of young ladies serving him wine and dishes. They were very attentive. He drank a cup of wine and said, the fact that he was able to burn the grand elder of the Ji family to death wasn't because of his shocking cultivation. It was because the important figures of the Ji family didn't guard against him and were killed by the terrifying flames he collected. Without those flames he was nothing. Brother, you are exaggerating. But no matter what, that young man burned a great elder to death. He is not simple. Someone beside him disagreed. The man in green glanced at him and said, half a year ago he was only in the Nirvana realm. Without those flames, killing him would be as easy as tearing a painting apart. Someone in the restaurant felt that he was being arrogant and said, brother, you are exaggerating. Killing him as easy as tearing a painting apart, can you really do that? The feminine man in green drank another cup of wine and said, killing him is as easy as flipping my hand. One slap is enough to kill him. Yifan was sitting not far away. He couldn't help but glance at him. The man looked calm, and even though he didn't show any arrogance, he was quite conceited. Someone beside him was disgusted by his attitude and said, that young man is only 15 or 16 years old and he has already reached the Nirvana realm. That is already very shocking. May I ask what level you are at? The 3rd level of the Holy Ji Palace. The man in green answered. He took the white cloth from the maid and wiped his mouth. Many people were shocked. To have such cultivation at this age was indeed shocking. No wonder he was so conceited. What is this young man's name? Someone asked. Situ Feng. The man in green gently threw the white cloth on the table. Is he Situ Feng from the Yanyan school? Yes. No wonder it is Situ Feng. Among the 20 years old generation, few in the Chu state can compete with him. There are no great sects in the Chu state and no holy lands. To have the power of the 3rd level of the Holy Ji Palace at this age is indeed something to be proud of. Everyone in the restaurant was talking about this. Obviously they had all heard of Situ Feng's name. Yifan naturally didn't have a good impression of this effeminate man who claimed that he could kill him with a single slap. However, he wouldn't argue with him here. He asked, where is the grand meeting of the younger generation of Chu province being held? I also want to go and experience it. In the Broken Cloud Mountain, not far from Jianghu City. Someone in the restaurant said. Thank you, brother, when will it start? Yifan asked. Thank you. When will it start? In 2 days many young men will come. Of the Chu, Yifan smiled and asked, I wonder which powerful figures from the young generation of the Ji clan and the Yaoguang Holy Land will come? That's hard to say, but there must be outstanding people who came personally. After all, they were the ones who set it up. Not long after Yifan walked out of the restaurant, the large black dog also strolled over from nearby, muttering and cursing. Yifan listened carefully and was instantly elated. The large black dog was quite unlucky. It had encountered an unscrupulous butcher, who had chased it down a street, wanting to skin it for its meat. However, the large black dog knew its limits and didn't eat any mortals. The mountain was 120 miles away from Jianghu City. The mountains were steep and reached into the clouds, so it was called the Broken Cloud Mountain. The mountains in the oasis were full of life. They were no longer barren. As far as the eye could see, it was green and there were big trees everywhere. The highest mountain was 6,000 meters high. White mist rose from it and clouds lingered around it. It was very majestic. Yifan came in advance because he wanted to know more about the terrain. The big black dog was not willing to follow him. He pulled a long face and followed him. The mountains stretched for hundreds of miles. There were no sects in the mountains. It was a land without a master. It was not because this place was not beautiful, but because in the past 1,000 years, there had been 3 medium-sized sects that established themselves here, but they were all destroyed. The other sects felt that this place was inauspicious, so no one stayed here. In fact, the Broken Cloud Mountain was very beautiful. The mountains and rivers were connected, dragon springs flowed, and jade belts circled the mountains. It was a good place for cultivation. Otherwise, 3 sects wouldn't have chosen this place. So it's this place. The big black dog's black fur stood up. Seeing him like this, Yifan was shocked. It was the first time he had seen the big black dog so nervous. You've been here before? The big black dog's eyes were filled with shock. He slowly calmed down, and his black fur became smooth and soft. Let me take a closer look. He ran quickly. He ran dozens of miles around the mountain and came to an open field. What do you see? Yifan asked. Is really this damn place? I didn't think I would come here again. The big black dog's expression was uncertain. What kind of place is this? Seeing him like this, Yifan knew that it was definitely not an ordinary mountain. I suffered a great loss here. The big black dog paced, his expression gloomy. When did this happen? Naturally very long ago. You wouldn't know even if I told you. The big black dog had a cool expression. Even divine kings only have a lifespan of 4 or 5,000 years. If you can live for more than 1,000 years, you'll have to thank the heavens. What happened here? I suffered a great loss, so why should I tell you? The big black dog turned around and continued to walk around the mountain. Yi Fan had been cultivating after obtaining the original heavenly book. He used the aura observation technique to explore, and the whole mountain range instantly appeared in his eyes. There's nothing special here. It's not a danger zone. Even if there are source veins underground, there are pitifully few of them. This was his conclusion. Something's not right. Suddenly Yi Fan was slightly surprised. Although this place was not a danger zone, it was slightly special. Looking ahead with the aura observation technique, he could faintly see a wisp of white mist rising up. That was definitely not the clouds and mist of the mountains. Instead, it was the wisp of mist that had risen up from underground. This is not a danger zone, nor is it celestial land, but there's a strange feeling. So many years have passed but nothing has changed, the big black dog muttered. Yi Fan walked over and said, "Tell me in detail. No matter what, I'm a disciple of the Yuan Taoist master, so I'm more familiar with the geography of mountains and rivers than you are. People in your line of work love to dig, but unfortunately, this is not a problem of source veins," the big black dog muttered. "Then what did you encounter in the past?" Yi Fan asked. "Back then I was trapped here for 18 years and almost died here." The big black dog gritted his teeth. "I didn't sense any danger," Yi Fan observed again. Apart from the wisp of white mist, he really couldn't sense anything else. If you can really sense danger, then you'll be in big trouble. This was once the dojo of a powerful figure, so it's very unusual. You must have come here to steal something from him, right? That person has been dead for who knows how many years. At that time I came here to try my luck. The big black dog corrected him fiercely. What kind of person's dojo was it that made you suffer such a great loss? Yi Fan was very curious. It was a ruthless person. In the end he even refined himself. The big black dog was unwilling to say more, and no matter what Yi Fan said, he wouldn't reveal anything. "According to what you're saying, we can't enter this mountain?" "That's not a problem. There's no big problem in entering. As long as we don't randomly dig here, no one will die." The big black dog still let the cat out of the bag. Yi Fan laughed loudly and said, "Look at you. For the sake of finding treasures, what have you done in the past?" The big black dog's expression darkened and he quibbled, "People in your line of work just like to randomly dig. I'm just reminding you." Yi Fan had only come here to participate in the gathering of the younger generation of Chu province, and he wasn't going to stay here for long, so he wasn't worried about anything. There was a very wide river here. It was unknown how many years it had been dried up, and even the cobblestones were almost weathered. This dried-up river meandered all the way from the mountain into the distance, like a flood dragon. Yi Fan followed the river into the mountain, and even after wandering around for half a day, he still couldn't find anything. He asked the big black dog, but the dog was tight-lipped, and was unwilling to reveal anything. "A treasure that can interest you must be extraordinary, right? Don't you want to dig it out?" Yi Fan tempted. "Of course it's a rare treasure. It's been buried underground for tens of thousands of years, so I don't mind it being buried for a few more decades. When I'm powerful enough, I'll personally come to retrieve it." The big black dog's mouth was very tight. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. The broken cloud mountain range was no longer deserted, and it instantly became lively. Divine rainbows occasionally flew over from the horizon, and figures could be seen everywhere. Almost all of them were young cultivators. In the central region of the mountain range there was a broken mountain. It was very thick and wide, and its surface was very smooth. It was as if it had been cut open by an extremely sharp weapon, and it formed a massive platform. There were many figures on the platform, and it didn't seem crowded at all. On the contrary, it was really too vast and it seemed empty. This broken mountain is at least 10 times thicker than the other mountains. If it wasn't broken, it would most likely reach into the clouds. "It's the highest mountain in this region," Yi Fan muttered to himself. "They really know how to choose a place." The big black dog's large eyes flickered with light. "This is the training ground of that powerful figure you mentioned, right?" Yi Fan probed. The big black dog didn't reply. An hour later Yi Fan's large sleeves fluttered, and he rode a cloud over. He also arrived at the broken mountain, but he didn't bring the Black Emperor with him. Otherwise he would leave behind a flaw. There were young cultivators everywhere, and they were all discussing spiritedly. At the same time, figures would occasionally fly over from the distant sky. 5-colored divine light sliced through the sky, and a jade boat flew over. Tens of thousands of rays of auspicious light shone, and it descended from the sky. There was a powerful fluctuation of divine power, and it landed on the broken mountain. Instantly there was a commotion among the crowd. An important figure had arrived. The elites of the Ji clan and the Wavering Light Holy Land have arrived. The Ji clan and the Wavering Light Holy Land's inheritance is immortal, and they have hundreds of thousands of years of history. Even the young disciples they've nurtured are so powerful. Shocking. Everyone was discussing spiritedly, and in an instant they surrounded that place. It was as if they were stars surrounding the moon. Yi Fan didn't go forward, and he stood in place without moving. At this time he discovered Situ Feng, who had threatened to kill him with a single slap. This feminine man was still dressed in green clothes, and he was quite conceited. He didn't push his way forward, and instead stood outside of the crowd with a hint of arrogance. "Brother Situ." Yi Fan walked forward. Situ Feng turned his head and said with a frown, "Who are you?" "Yi Fan." When Situ Feng heard this, he suddenly turned around and stared at him. Chapter 247. The broken cloud mountains towered into the sky, cutting through the white clouds. Some of the peaks were lush green, while the peaks were covered in white snow. The broken cloud mountains were located in the center of the mountains. There were many people here, and from time to time, there would be young cultivators descending. More and more people were gathered here. Situ Feng's expression was cold. He stood outside of the crowd and looked quite arrogant. He stared at Yi Fan and said, "That's not a good joke." Yi Fan was only a few feet away from him. He stood there calmly. His joints moved, making cracking sounds, and soon his true appearance was restored. "It's really you." Situ Feng was a little surprised, but he soon sneered and said, "You dare to come here? You really have some guts." Mist emerged from Yi Fan's body and covered his entire body, concealing his true form. He took a few steps forward and said, "The world is so big, where can't I go? It's just a gathering of cultivators from Chu province, why would I not dare to come?" Situ Feng's expression became cold and said, "Today I am afraid you will not be able to leave. Do you want to slap me to death?" Yi Fan said as he took a few steps forward. "Killing you is as easy as flipping my hand. One slap is more than enough." Situ Feng was a genius of the Swallow Cloud sect. He was already a powerhouse of the 3rd level of the Dao Palace in his 20s, so he was quite arrogant. Yi Fan touched his chin and said, "Am I that easy to bully? You want to kill me with one slap? Do you really think I am just a blade of grass? Besides relying on that flame, you are nothing to me. Killing you is as easy as plucking leaves from the grass." Situ Feng said calmly, "Why don't you try and kill me?" Yi Fan walked forward again. At this time, the surrounding cultivators noticed the abnormality and looked back. "Isn't that Situ Feng of the Swallow Cloud sect? He is known as the most outstanding genius of the sect in 100 years. He is only 21 years old and is already a powerhouse of the 3rd level of the Dao Palace. In the southern part of the Chu province, Situ Feng is quite famous among the younger generation. Many people speculate that he will be able to break into the 4 extreme secret realms before the age of 30. Many cultivators discussed and thought highly of him. Situ Feng was only 21 years old, and he was not a descendant of a holy land, but having such a cultivation was indeed amazing. After all, among the younger generation, there were very few people who had reached the 4 extreme secret realms. In the future, it was very likely that he would be able to break through to the 4 ultimate secret realms before the age of 30. It could be said that his talent was extraordinary. "You are very famous in the Chu prefecture. So many people know of you." Yi Fan became even more ethereal. The fog rolled and covered his entire body. Who is this person? He dares to confront Situ Feng. Could it be that he can compete with the geniuses of the Swallow Cloud sect? Someone revealed a suspicious look. It must be a challenger. After Situ Feng became famous in the southern part of the Chu province, there were some young cultivators who were not convinced. This kind of situation would often occur. Fame and fortune can kill a person. For the sake of fame, he didn't hesitate to fight. But isn't challenging the genius of Yen Yun's sect just asking for death? Among the people in Chu prefecture who are around 20 years old, there aren't many who can compete with him. Looks like I'm in danger. Everyone says I'm no match for you. Yi Fan laughed at himself. At this moment, there were many young cultivators everywhere on the broken mountain. Many of them were looking over and were aware of the tense atmosphere. "It's a pity. I actually didn't want to kill you. But since you are standing in front of me, I don't mind sending you on your way with a slap." Situ Feng dismissively replied. His body turned into a shadow and floated over like a character from a painting. Just as he said, he only sent out a slap. His right hand was raised high, and a blue halo appeared on his palm. It was sparkling and sparkling. At this moment, there were many gazes gathered at this place. Both near and far, all of them were looking at this scene. This was a gathering of the young cultivators of the Chu prefecture. So the occurrence of such a conflict was expected. So no one was surprised. After the people on the broken mountain knew that it was Situ Feng, they believed that there would be no suspense. The strange challenger would certainly be killed by the genius of the Swallow Cloud sect. Yifan stood in the same place and did not move. He calmly waited for Situ Feng to rush in front of him. Then he waved his right palm to meet that blue palm. Pa! The sound was very loud and clear. It was like a sudden clap of thunder. It spread throughout the entire broken mountain. The two palms collided, creating a series of blue ripples. The blue hazy halo fluttered like a gauze, submerging the entire area. I have already said that Situ Feng's talent is extremely high. Anyone who challenges him will certainly have to pay a painful price. He could easily lose his life. The blue light is like lightning. The divine power is overflowing in all directions. This palm's strength is terrifying. Many people exclaimed in admiration. However, when the blue mist dispersed, everyone was stunned. They were tongue-tied and swallowed back the words they were about to say. In the middle of the field, Yifan's long sleeves were fluttering in the wind. He stood there calmly. But Situ Feng's complexion was deathly pale. He retreated far away. His entire right palm was deformed beyond recognition. Drops of blood were dripping down to the ground. How is this possible? Who is he? He actually injured the genius of the Swallow Cloud sect. His right palm bone is broken inch by inch. Who is this person? How come I have never heard of him? Does my Chu prefecture have such a person? Chu prefecture has a radius of more than 3,000 miles. I have never heard of such a person. Could it be that he is a cultivator from the oasis? In the surroundings, many people had a strange look on their faces. An unknown person had seriously injured Situ Feng with a single palm strike. This was really shocking. Yifan was very calm. In terms of physique alone, who in the Holy Palace could compare with him? His body was made of copper and iron. It was even more terrifying than a magical weapon. Many people were trying to guess his identity. However, his body was surrounded by mist. No one could see him clearly. Situ Feng's complexion was pale. Not only was his right palm bone broken, but his entire right arm was broken into 8 pieces. No one was more shocked than him. It was as if he had just hit a mountain. There was no way he could resist that kind of power. You want to kill me with a single palm strike? That's going to be very difficult. Yifan stood in the same place and did not chase after him. Situ Feng's complexion was stiff. His right arm was trembling. He clenched his teeth and tried to fix his broken arm. At the same time, he opened his mouth and spat out a pearl. It was suspended above his head. A curtain of water hung down from it. It's the blue pearl of the Swallow Cloud School. Someone exclaimed. At the same time, Situ Feng opened his mouth and spat out a blue lotus. It shone brightly and was as heavy as a mountain. The people around him could not even breathe. This blue lotus was transparent and bright blue. The huge pressure it exuded made many people's hearts beat faster. Their faces turned pale. Even the ground of the broken mountain was cracking. Yifan's expression changed. It was not only because of how heavy the blue lotus was, but also because the ground of the broken mountain was cracking. This was the training ground of a ruthless person. If he caused any trouble, it would be very bad. He did not hold back and rushed forward. His palms and fingers were like blades. He struck out continuously, shattering the blue lotus. The blue lotus was not damaged. It shone even brighter and pressed down. He held up one hand to the sky. It was indeed as heavy as a mountain. The pressure was making his body feel a bit strained. The blue pearl rose up and flew towards the blue lotus. The two combined and multiplied the weight of the blue lotus, making Yifan sink. This is Swallow Cloud Sect's treasure. It is almost unbearable. This person is actually resisting it with his body. What kind of background does he have? The surrounding people were all shocked. However, what made them dumbfounded was yet to come. Yifan's hands trembled. A huge golden palm magically appeared, causing the sky to collapse. Situ Feng's expression changed. 3 blue lights rushed out from his left hand and converged together to form a blue lightning blade. All of a sudden, it grew to a length of more than 10 zhang and chopped towards Yifan. Situ Feng actually refined the 3 in true water. Every drop of this water can penetrate gold and crack stone. What is even more frightening is that he refined the true water into a spirit blade. This kind of secret technique is extremely frightening. It can cut through people's souls. This is the 3-in true spirit blade. It has once again appeared. This is really unexpected and shocking. The spectators' faces changed. They were all nervously watching. The 3-in true water could extinguish true fire. It could melt gold. It was as heavy as 10,000 caddies. When it was refined into the 3-in true spirit blade, its power was unparalleled. Yi Fan let out a low roar. His arms trembled 9 times. After the 9 strikes, the blue pearl and the blue lotus of the swallow cloud sect cracked. Boom. The last punch was thrown. The sky was filled with blue light. The 2 treasures were smashed into powder by his golden fist. Who is this person? How can he have such a great strength? His flesh is harder than the treasures. How did he cultivate? Is he a demon? Too frightening. Everyone was dumbfounded. All of them were in disbelief. The 3-in true spirit blade chopped down. The blue light was like lightning. The skin of the people nearby was reflected in a pale blue color. Dang. Yi Fan grabbed the blade. His entire right hand was like a pure gold. 5 deep finger marks were left on the blade. The 3-in true spirit blade can cut through souls. Heavens, he grabbed it with his hand. He is actually fearless. Is this the kind of existence that can become a saint in the future? How can he have such a terrifying body? Boom. Situ Feng stimulated the 3-in true spirit blade. The blue light soared to the sky. The water light overflowed in all directions. It submerged Yi Fan. This was the 3-in true water. It could melt gold and devour iron. A single drop was enough to penetrate a cultivator's body. With so much of it surging out, no one could tell how terrifying its power was. However, Yi Fan's body was shining brightly. All of the water was evaporated and turned into a blue gas. It was simply unable to do anything to him. His divine power surged. He was like an immortal divine furnace. He could burn and destroy everything. Kaka. The 3-in true spirit blade broke in his hand. It turned into pure water and then turned into a blue mist. It was completely refined by him. This scene was horrifying. The 3-in true spirit blade could not even withstand a single blow. It was destroyed by his golden palm. You. Situ Feng's face was pale. He turned around and left. His heart was like dead ashes. Such an opponent made him feel frustrated. The genius of the Swallow Cloud sect was defeated. He had no choice but to escape. That was a genius from the southern part of the Chu province. He could not even withstand a single blow from this person. Who is this person? How terrifying. On the broken mountain, many people were shocked. You also have a taste of the power of my palm. Yi Fan's speed was extremely fast. He caught up with Situ Feng in a flash. His golden palm turned into the size of a millstone. It smashed down, causing the void to tremble. Be lenient. An outstanding disciple of the Ji clan shouted. A silhouette quickly rushed forward. At the same time, Situ Feng also tried his best to resist. The golden palm was incomparably powerful. It sucked away all the world's essence in the surroundings. A large blurry black space appeared. But this time, it was as if a muffled thunder had struck the sky. Situ Feng's resistance was completely useless. His whole body was smashed into pieces. He was sent flying. You. The young expert of the Ji clan was furious. He did not expect that the opposite party would not give him any face. He wanted to catch Situ Fei's broken body, but as soon as his hands touched it, the body immediately turned into ashes. His body and soul were completely destroyed. Who are you? How dare you kill someone in front of me? Didn't you hear what I said just now? The young expert of the Ji clan shouted. Who do you think you are? Do you think that I will stop just because you told me to? You think that the clan of the ancients is so great? Yi Fan clasped his hands behind his back. Chapter 248. Facing the disciple of the clan of the ancients, Yi Fan did not show any reverence. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back. You. How dare you? The disciple's complexion immediately sank as he said, This is a grand meeting of the young cultivators of the Chu prefecture. Why did you cause a disturbance? Why did you kill someone for no reason? Why would I kill someone for no reason? Didn't you see that he wanted to kill me? Unfortunately, the result disappointed him. It was not what he had expected. The disciple of the clan of the Ji clan had a stern look on his face. He placed himself on the moral high ground. He did not want others to gossip about him. He asked, I saw everything that happened just now. Although he said that he wanted to kill you, he did not injure you. Why do you want his life? According to you, as long as he did not injure me, even if he wanted to kill me, it was not his fault? Yi Fan looked indifferent. He was not your opponent. He could not take your life. In any case, you should not have killed him. The disciple of the clan of the Ji clan had a stern look on his face. Yi Fan sneered and said, "What a joke. Do I have to wait until my life is in danger before I can kill him? I'm afraid I would have already lost my life by then." There were many people on the Broken Mountain. Many young cultivators of the Chu prefecture had gathered here. People could be seen everywhere. No one had thought that someone would dare to confront the young generation of the clan of the Ji clan. Sidu Feng only said something inappropriate. Yet you killed a genius of the Chu prefecture. This is too much. Although he said that he wanted to kill you, he was not your opponent. How could you kill him? Where did you come from? Why did you kill him? Do you think there is no one in the Chu prefecture? On the side, there were a few cultivators who agreed with the disciple of the clan of the ancients. The other party was from the clan of the ancients. It was worth it for them to help him. In addition, there were a few people who followed blindly. However, they were in the minority. Most of the people were watching quietly. They could not afford to offend the clan of the Ji clan. It was impossible for them to help a cultivator of unknown origin. Yi Fan laughed. This made the people who had spoken very angry, especially the disciple of the clan of the Ji clan. Although Situ Feng threatened to kill you, but in the end he was turned into ashes by you, and now you are still laughing. Yi Fan rubbed his chin and said, "The few of you have already said it yourselves. It was he who threatened to kill me with a single slap. Moreover, he was the one who tried to kill me first. Do you have anything else to say?" The few people who had blindly followed him were instantly dumbfounded. After thinking about it carefully, they were tongue-tied and couldn't say anything. The few people from the Ji family who had spoken up to help also didn't know what to say. That disciple of the Ji clan said coldly, "No matter what, you shouldn't have killed anyone. You should know that you should forgive people whenever possible." "Is that so?" Yi Fan laughed and said, "How about this? I'll give it a try and see if I can kill you with one slap. Of course, even if I say that, I probably won't be able to kill you. After this, how about we drink and chat merrily? According to what you've said, I don't think you'll mind, much less kill me." Hearing Yi Fan's ridicule, the disciple of the Ji clan's face became gloomy. He scolded, "I think you are here to disturb the meeting. Who are you?" Yi Fan's body was shrouded in fog. His face couldn't be seen clearly. He leisurely walked forward and said, "You can't reason with me, so you're starting to accuse me? You really came here to disturb the meeting. You've already come to a conclusion. What can I say? Everything is in vain." Yi Fan laughed. The clan of the remote antiquity had existed in the world for hundreds of thousands of years. They were unfathomably powerful and transcended the world. All the sects were in awe of them. No matter where the disciples of the Ji clan went, they were like the stars surrounding the moon. No one dared to look down on them. Today, Jiyun Feng was repeatedly contradicted by Yi Fan. His face became gloomy and his heart was filled with killing intent. This meeting was initiated by my Ji clan and the Yaoguang Holy Land. We invited the young talents of the Chu prefecture. Who are you? How dare you come here? How come I didn't see anyone else's name? Why am I the only one here? Yi Fan crossed his arms and said, "Am I supposed to be the one being presumptuous here? The clan of the remote antiquity sure is domineering." Boom. The powerful killing intent was like the waves of a lake. Rays of light shot out from the disciple of the Ji clan and circled around his body like a real dragon. "You came here with an ulterior motive. I will take you down first." What a nice way to put it. If you want to kill me, just say it. Why bother with all these excuses? I will exchange a few moves with you. Yi Fan walked forward. Everyone's expression changed. Someone who dared to provoke a disciple of the clan of the remote antiquity definitely had a powerful background. Everyone was shocked and paid close attention to the scene. The clan of the remote antiquity cannot be humiliated. Today you asked for it. I will kill you. Ji Yunfeng's face darkened. When the disciples of the Ji clan walked outside, the disciples of other sects would try their best to befriend them. They had never been humiliated like this before. Ji Yunfeng could not hold it in any longer. What's the point of being so domineering? Yi Fan shook his head and said, "The clan of the remote antiquity sure is powerful." The Ji clan had chased after him. Even if he escaped to the north, he would not be able to escape. He came here today to kill and slap the face of the clan of the remote antiquity. Naturally, he would not run away now. "Young Master Ji, there is no need to do it yourself. Let me take him down." A young cultivator from the Chu province stepped forward. "Let me do it myself." Ji Yunfeng shook his head. There is no need to use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. I am enough. The cultivator took out a blood box and said, Young Master Ji, please help me with the formation. Bus. The cultivator made his move immediately. The blood box opened a slit and a river of blood rushed out. The stench of blood assaulted the nostrils as it tried to drown Yi Fan. The underworld blood demon box. So it's something from this sect. Why did it appear again? Isn't this a demon weapon left behind by a demon king? This thing can taint one's golden body. Even a treasure cannot block it and will turn into blood. Back in the day, a great human cultivator died because of it. It has actually reappeared in this world. Wasn't it destroyed by a great human cultivator before his death? Could it be that another demon king appeared and refined it again? The surrounding spectators were all shocked as they watched nervously. The river of blood rushed over and a red mist covered the sky. The sky and the earth were dyed red, and a bone-piercing chill seeped into everyone's soul. An ominous premonition appeared. Yi Fan was on guard as if he was facing a great enemy. Boom. His body shone with a divine light as if he was wearing a layer of immortal robe. The light illuminated the surroundings, making it hard for people to look at him directly. Bang. Yi Fan's hands were holding the moon as a mountain appeared in his bosom. Green pine trees stood tall on top of the mountain as a silver waterfall cascaded down. It was majestic and heavy as if it could destroy the heaven and earth. The embracing mountain seal. Yi Fan used the battle saint technique to strike out with the embracing mountain seal. After encountering danger, he displayed the earth-shattering seal technique with monstrous power. The mountain was so real that it made people feel suffocated. Even though they were far away, they still felt as if Mount Tai was pressing down on them. Their bodies went limp and they could barely stand. Many people staggered and fell to the ground. The mountain quickly enlarged like an ancient demonic mountain descending upon the world. It pressed down on them in an instant. The pressure was too great for them to bear. Many people who stood too close had blood flowing out of their ears and noses. They had suffered a terrifying impact. Boom. The river of blood in the sky collapsed in an instant. The mountain was like the sky, majestic and unstoppable. Its divine might could almost crush a real mountain. How could the physical body of the Holy Ji Palace withstand it? The expression of the cultivator from Chu State changed. He silently chanted an incantation, and the underworld blood demon box enlarged and rushed into the sky to meet the mountain. There were 9 waves of blood, each higher than the one before. They swept towards the mountain and Yi Fan. At the same time, the crimson blood mist was like blades and swords, rushing towards Yi Fan. Yi Fan lightly shouted. The mountain-embracing imprint was unleashed to the extreme. After that, he hurled it out. This was a terrifying scene. A body of flesh and blood was hurled out like a mountain. This sort of might would cause people's hearts to tremble. This kind of power was too terrifying. The air seemed to collapse from the pressure. With a rumbling sound, the mountain crashed into the blood box. Boom. Bloody light covered the sky and a storm raged. The sky suddenly became chaotic as if it had become a chaotic zone. It was a blur. Energy waves and light were everywhere. Kacha. The mountain that was thrown out collapsed, and the blood box also shattered. It was destroyed in the air at the same time, emitting a terrifying aura. Rumble. Up in the sky there was a shocking scene. The underworld blood demon box shattered. It was extremely terrifying, destroying everything in its way. Demon blood filled the sky and the mountain collapsed. Violent waves swept through the sky. Many people were sent flying even though it was only the aftermath. This is too frightening. How could the underworld blood demon box refined by a great demon of a generation be broken? Just who is this person? The embracing mountain seal is an absolute art of the northern domain. Several great sects and holy lands have collected it, but it shouldn't be enough to shatter the treasure box of a demon king. You're all wrong. The underworld blood demon box was destroyed by a great human, and this is only a scrap. One can imagine how terrifying the true blood box is. Even so, everyone was still shocked. This kind of energy fluctuation was too great a threat to the cultivators of the Dao Palace mystic realm. In particular, cultivators below the 3rd level of the Dao Palace would find it difficult to resist. But the youth in the sky had actually thrown out a mountain, shattering the demon box. It made everyone's hair stand on end. Who is he? To throw a mountain with a lift of his hand? Just how powerful was this strength? It was simply the strength to pick up mountains, and his aura was matchless and unstoppable. In the sky, a bloody mist rose. The underworld blood that could pollute the golden body and destroy the treasure body was actually unable to harm Yi Fan. It was completely refined by him. His powerful body was faintly discernible in the mist. His body bloomed with a crystalline divine brilliance. Everyone was dumbfounded. How could this be? My underworld blood treasure box has been destroyed. The cultivator was in a daze. He wanted to show off in front of the Ji family disciples and enter the clan of the ancients, but he didn't want the treasure he relied on to be so tyrannically shattered. Is he even human? He threw out a mountain. His lips were trembling, but it was unknown whether it was from anger or fear. This is the embracing mountain seal. It is the ultimate art of a great sect in the past. After the sect was destroyed, it was passed down, and many sects have obtained this secret art. Ji Yunfeng's expression was solemn. Yi Fan coldly snorted. He swooped down and attacked the cultivator. Young Master Ji, save me. The cultivator's expression changed on the spot. The treasure that was made from a scrap of the underworld blood treasure box had been shattered. He was no match for Yi Fan. Don't worry. With me here, he can't do anything to you. Ji Yunfeng was quite conceited. Who do you think you are? If I want to kill someone, do you think you can stop me? Yi Fan rushed forward, the divine light between his eyebrows shining brightly. Oh no! Ji Yunfeng was indeed an extraordinary figure among the younger generation of the Ji family. He instinctively sensed danger and quickly retreated. This was the innate instinct. Only a few cultivators had this kind of spiritual sense. Yi Fan's powerful divine sense manifested. It was unparalleled. A golden divine sword shot out from between his eyebrows and directly killed the owner of the underworld blood demon box. His corpse lay in the void. You, who are you? Ji Yunfeng shouted. He had just said in front of everyone that he would protect that cultivator. In the end, Yi Fan rushed over and killed him in one move. This was equivalent to a loud slap to his face. I will tell you. After today, the entire North region will know. Yi Fan attacked. He immediately used the embracing mountain seal. The huge mountain covered the sky. Its aura was heavy and majestic. It fiercely pressed down, causing the sky to tremble. Heaven's severing finger. Ji Yunfeng shouted. He stretched out his right hand. His fingers were like dragon scissors, transparent like jade. They cut through the sky and met the embracing mountain seal. Chapter 249. The Void Scripture was a supreme scripture created by the ancient Void Emperor to observe all living things and capture the eternal and unchanging laws. It was incomparably profound and had the power to seize the fortune of heaven and earth. The sky-severing finger was one of the supreme arts. It was extremely powerful and mysterious. When it reached the pinnacle, it could sever the imprint of the heavens and connect with the great Tao. Ji Yunfeng's finger was sparkling and shot out divine radiance. The finger scissors moved like true dragons waving their tails. They intersected and emitted a terrifying aura that could sever mountains and cut apart the blue dome of heaven. Clang! The sky-severing finger shot out, cutting through the sky with an oppressive aura. The divine radiance was as thick as a peak and cut towards the huge mountain in the sky with astonishing power. This kind of supreme art was truly terrifying. The jade-like finger shot out divine radiance that turned into dragon scissors that could cut through everything. Yi Fan struck out with the embracing mountain seal, which turned into a huge mountain and suppressed the center of the sky. It was continuously attacked and terrifying ravines appeared on the towering mountain in the sky. All of them were cut out by the slashes. Boom! The mountain rose sharply and became larger, towering into the sky. Black light shone as a silver waterfall fell from the sky. Yi Fan took the form of embracing the moon and shot towards the dragon scissors. Bang! The silver dragon scissors shook violently and were almost shattered. However, with a flash of light, they reformed and shot out an even sharper divine radiance. Murderous intent soared into the sky as it slashed downwards. Clang, clang, clang. It was as if 10,000 swords were ringing at the same time, resounding through the horizon. The sky-severing finger displayed its terrifying side. It could cut through all living things and was impossible to defend against. The sky trembled and rumbled. Silver radiance shot out in all directions, causing people's hearts to palpitate. The dragon scissors were unstoppable and cut out huge ravines on the mountain. However, the mountain did not fall and became more and more solid like an immortal demonic mountain. The power it released was even stronger and almost destroyed the dragon scissors several times. The embracing mountain seal against the sky-severing finger. One was an ancient seal technique activated by the Battle Saint technique, while the other was a supreme secret technique recorded in the Void ancient scripture. Could be said that they were evenly matched. Ji Yunfeng was quite shocked. How could the ultimate art left behind by the ancient emperors not suppress the embracing mountain seal? Although this ancient seal technique was a unique technique of the northern region, How could it compare to the sky-severing finger? The scriptures left behind by the great emperor represented the extreme realm, and the secret techniques left behind could be considered unmatched. They were all the most powerful techniques of a certain domain, impossible to surpass. But this person before him had actually used the mountain-embracing seal to resist it with ease and not fall into a disadvantageous position. This truly exceeded logic. Ji Yunfeng flicked his finger, and divine light rushed out like 5 dragons soaring through the sky, charging towards the mountains in the sky. The sky-severing finger was unfathomably profound. When it reached the ultimate level, it could draw upon the Tao of heaven and earth and absorb the eternal Tao energy from the void. Although it was impossible for Ji Yunfeng to reach such a level, he was indeed extraordinary. He flicked his fingers repeatedly, and the 5 dragons locking the heavens coiled around the mountain. This scene was extremely shocking. 5 true dragons coiled around the mountain, and the scales on their bodies flickered. They directly dug into the mountain, wanting to shatter the mountain. The heaven-severing finger drew in the power of heaven and earth, absorbing the energy in the void. Its might rose sharply, causing the mountain formed by the embracing mountain seal to sway unceasingly, showing signs of collapsing. The secret art recorded in the void ancient scripture could display an extreme immortal might. Even if it could only display a trace of it now, it was still unfathomable. Yi Fan immediately felt the pressure increase greatly. His expression solemn, he activated the Battle Saint art, and also the embracing mountain seal to the extreme. Boom! The mountain continued to enlarge, and the powerful pressure made the spectators below shudder, almost collapsing to the ground. Bang! One of the true dragons finally couldn't bear it anymore. The dragon coiling around the mountain was broken, and with a flash of light, it was destroyed. Boom! The mountain shook and the pressure was astonishing. It continued to expand, becoming more and more majestic. No, this is definitely not the embracing mountain seal. It only has the form and has its own origin. What kind of secret art is this? How can it compete with the sky-severing finger? Ji Yunfeng's heart was filled with puzzlement. But now there was no time to think too much. The embracing mountain seal shook violently, and its might increased even more, breaking the other 4 true dragons. They were destroyed on the mountain, and a terrifying energy spread in all directions. Suppress! Yi Fan shouted, and the embracing mountain seal pressed down like the sky. Its power was unparalleled and it shook one's soul. Sky-severing finger! Ji Yunfeng shouted and once again used this secret art. It struck the sky and blocked the embracing mountain seal. Boom! This time Ji Yunfeng was sent flying. Even though he had retreated quickly, he had still suffered a great impact and his face was pale. Why is it like this? The sky-severing finger can invoke the great path, and it is unparalleled in the world. What kind of secret art is he using to resist the saint art left behind by the great emperor? Buzz! The sky trembled. Yi Fan embraced the moon, and the embracing mountain seal pressed down again. It was black and towering and it made one's mind uneasy. Its power was terrifying and its courage was unparalleled. Bang! Ji Yunfeng used the power of the sky-severing finger to the extreme, but the result was still the same. He was sent flying and his body shook violently and his face was pale. Ji Yunfeng's heart was cold. He was almost at the 4th level of the Holy Ji Palace, and his opponent was only at the 2nd level. What did this mean? The difference in power between different levels was huge. It was like climbing the sky ladder. The step up was celestial, and the step down was mortal. Those who were at the lower levels were definitely suppressed, and yet his opponent was going against the grain. He was an extremely conceited person, but now he was doubting his own ability. As a disciple of the clan of the ancients, his combat ability far surpassed cultivators of the same level, and yet he was going against the grain. This really shocked him. What made Ji Yunfeng even more afraid was that his opponent's divine power was inexhaustible, and it was still increasing. The power of the embracing mountain seal was even greater than before, and he did not dare to face it head-on. Why is it like this? His power is too great. If a cultivator of the 4 ultimate secret realms were hit, he would not be able to take it and would die with a grievance. Ji Yunfeng's face was pale. He had lost confidence and felt that it was impossible to defeat his opponent. With such a mentality, the consequences would be disastrous. Oh no. On the broken mountain, the other 3 from the Ji clan and the 4 from the Yaoguang Holy Land all changed expressions. They could see that something was wrong. Yunfeng, retreat. Come back. Don't fight. At the same time, someone rushed forward, wanting to cut off Yi Fan and force Ji Yunfeng to retreat. It was obvious that everyone could see that Ji Yunfeng was not a match for Yi Fan. If this continued, he would die without a doubt. On the broken mountain, many young cultivators from the Chu prefecture were gathered. They were all shocked that a disciple of the clan of the ancients could not defeat an unknown cultivator. It was shocking. Just what was this person's background? Everyone was guessing that someone who dared to cause trouble for a disciple of the clan of the ancients most likely had a corresponding identity. Ji Yunfeng indeed wanted to retreat. He did not want to die, but to his horror he found that he was stuck by the embracing mountain seal. A demonic power was emitted from the mountain, almost sucking him into the void. He could not fly out at all. The people behind him were anxious. Another disciple of the Ji clan rushed over and tried to stop him. His divine power surged, wanting to tear apart the seal. Boom! It was extremely terrifying. The moment he arrived, he unleashed the palm of the void. Its power was astonishing, causing the sky to tremble. The palm of the void was on par with the sky-severing finger. They were both supreme secret arts of the Ji clan and possessed unimaginable power. When the sky-severing finger was unleashed, silver light shone brilliantly. The palm of the void, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. It was as black as ink. At this moment, the black palm blotted out the sky and almost covered the sun. It shook the mountain in the sky. This was the palm of the void. It absorbed the eternal power of the great Tao from the void. Its celestial power was unpredictable. Ordinary opponents had no way to resist and would be smashed to pieces. Not only had Yi Fan seen the power of this art, but he had also learned the incomplete form of the palm of the void. He knew how terrifying it was, but even now he was not afraid. Even if the disciple of the clan of the ancients had a higher cultivation level than him, he was still confident. He had learned the offensive arts of the 9 secrets so he could resist them. Buzz. The essence chi in the sky seemed to have been sucked dry. The entire heaven and earth darkened. The power of Yi Fan's mountain-embracing imprint had increased a little. Ji Yunfeng had no way to escape. He was firmly isolated here. At the same time, the mountain-embracing imprint smashed into the palm of the void. Boom! The heaven and earth shook. The shock waves rushed downwards, causing the broken mountain to shake. Many people could not stand steadily and almost fell to the ground. This was a terrifying energy as vast as the ocean. The palm of the void did not gain the upper hand against the mountain-embracing imprint. This is. The Ji clan's disciple who rushed over frowned. Below, the Chu prefecture's cultivators were even more shocked. This mysterious character was too powerful. His aura did not decrease but instead increased continuously. His divine power was becoming more and more terrifying. First, he broke the sky-severing finger, then he faced the palm of the void, dissolving 2 peerless arts. Such methods were truly terrifying. Sky-severing finger. Ji Yunfeng shouted. Divine light as thick as a mountain peak shot outwards. Palm of the void. The Ji clan's disciple who rushed over to help also shouted. The incomparably huge black palm covered the sky, blocking the sun in the sky as it pressed downwards. These 2 supreme secret arts originated from the void ancient scripture. They came from the same source, and when combined together, they possessed an inconceivable might. It was extremely terrifying. However, Yi Fan's performance was even more shocking. Boom! The sky trembled. After Yi Fan tossed out a mountain, he once again began to form seals. Another mountain formed and was tossed out by him. Mountain-embracing imprint. Its power was world-shaking. The mountain pressed down on everyone, and the divine might of 10,000 caddies was unstoppable. The essence of heaven and earth was about to be sucked dry, and this place became dark. Everyone was stunned because the tossing of the 2 mountains didn't mean the end. Rather, it was just the beginning. Yi Fan's hands embraced the moon as he continuously formed seals. Rumble. The sky shook and the earth trembled. He consecutively tossed out 9 mountains and formed seals 9 times, completely sucking the essence of the surroundings dry. Everything sank into darkness. This was too terrifying. The wild power shocked the heavens, and it was as if the sky was about to split apart. Tossing out 9 mountains in succession was an unimaginable power. Below, the spectators were like clay statues. They were tongue-tied. Such vigorous divine power seemed like it would never dry up. It was truly shocking. The 9 mountains were all tossed towards the Ji clan's disciple who came to help. His heart trembled. Was this still a human? It gave him a horrifying feeling. He slapped out with the void palm and the jet-black hand covered the sky. At the same time, he decisively retreated. He knew that he definitely wouldn't be able to block the 9 mountains. If he took it head-on, he would most likely be crushed into meat paste. He could only retreat. After stopping this disciple, Yi Fan was calm. He hugged the 10th mountain and descended from the sky, directly suppressing Ji Yunfeng. Stop. Behind him, the other 2 disciples of the Ji clan shouted. Unfortunately, it was already too late. They didn't expect Yi Fan to be so tyrannical. He tossed out 9 mountains and changed everything in the blink of an eye. Boom. Like a torrential flood, like a vast ocean sweeping the sky, the sound was deafening. Embracing mountain seal. Yi Fan directly pressed down. His strength was enough to pick up mountains and his aura was matchless. He was like a celestial king descending to the mortal world. He was unstoppable. Ji Yunfeng's face was drained of blood. His opponent's divine power was so vast that he couldn't breathe. He forcefully used the sky-severing finger, but it couldn't change anything. Boom. The sky shook and the earth quaked. Yi Fan pressed down and shook Ji Yunfeng to death. The fleshly body was deformed and tattered. Then it turned into ashes in the terrifying aftermath. Chapter 250. Yi Fan crushed Ji Yunfeng to death with the embracing mountain seal, turning him into dust. Broken Mountain was deathly silent as everyone stared blankly. A disciple of the clan of the ancients had been killed. The scene just now was shocking. Throwing out mountains and suppressing the Ji clan's cultivators, Yi Fan's performance was too shocking. He had the bearing of an overlord who could lift a cauldron. Only after a long time had passed did the young cultivators of the Chu province wake up, and they began to discuss with each other like a tide. Just who was he? Could he be the reincarnation of a demon king? Holding a mountain and suppressing an enemy, this is too terrifying. The embracing mountain seal is an absolute art of the North Domain. It requires a great amount of godly strength and is difficult for ordinary people to use. Yet this person continuously formed seals and threw out 9 mountains at once. This is too monstrous. Could it be that he has the godly king physique? Otherwise, how could he have such terrifying potential? His godly strength seems to be inexhaustible, and the more he fights, the stronger he becomes. The entire Broken Mountain was in an uproar as everyone discussed. A disciple of the clan of the ancients being killed was not a small matter. This person killed a disciple of the clan of the ancients in front of everyone. This concerned the reputation of the clan of the ancients. This was not a spar but a purposeful killing. Who are you? The other 3 cultivators of the clan of the Ji clan stood high up in the sky and surrounded Yi Fan. Their eyes were spitting fire and their killing intent was revealed. The gathering of the young cultivators of Chu Prefecture was organized by them in the name of their clan. This person came to the scene and killed the organizer. This result would damage the reputation of the Ji clan. I will take revenge for Yunfeng, one of them said with a cold voice. Then he suddenly disappeared into thin air. What? The crowd was shocked. Under broad daylight, a person's figure could be seen floating in the air. This caused everyone to be dumbfounded. Yi Fan's robes fluttered in the wind as celestial energy covered his body. He stood there quietly without any signs of panic and was extremely calm. The mist became hazy and the space around him became distorted. A figure flashed and the cultivator of the Ji clan rushed out. He spat out a divine sword from his mouth and slashed towards Yi Fan's back. However, Yi Fan seemed to have expected this. Without any ripples, he calmly attacked. His golden fist arrived first and met the resplendent divine sword head-on. Clang. The drawn-out sound traveled for more than 10 miles, reverberating in the Broken Cloud Mountain range. The golden fist sent the sharp sword flying. Cracks appeared on its surface, and then it shattered inch by inch like rotten wood. The wind blew it into the air and golden powder drifted down to the ground. Great Void Technique. That's right, this is another unparalleled secret technique of the Ji clan. Within a short distance it can be used to travel through space. Its destructive power is extremely great, and it's impossible to guard against. This is a world-shocking technique, an important technique recorded in the Void Ancient Scripture, a secret technique of the Ji clan. At this moment, the people on Broken Mountain finally understood why the disciple suddenly disappeared. He was displaying a strange technique. This kind of secret technique was extremely terrifying. During the battle, it would appear and disappear unpredictably, making it impossible for one to guard against it. It would kill without leaving a trace, causing the opponent to tremble in fear. However, Yi Fan was not afraid. He understood this secret technique very well. Ji Ziyue had taught him the complete chant and he also knew the Great Void Technique. Ever since he came to the northern region he had not used it, fearing that his identity would be exposed. In addition, there was another reason. He cultivated the old madman's footwork, so the Great Void Technique was dispensable to him. Ji Yunqing was very surprised. He did not expect the opponent to dodge it so easily. He was not startled by the Great Void technique and did not panic. Without a sound, he disappeared once again and used the Great Void technique to attack Yi Fan. Boom. The space distorted and everything became blurry. A huge black palm slapped out. The scene was quite terrifying and abrupt. The black palm covered the sky and covered the earth, pressing down on Yi Fan. With a rumbling sound, it slapped down violently. Yi Fan raised his golden fist to resist. Clang. The sound was earth-shaking, like a huge hammer hitting the divine drum of the celestial court. It made people's ears ring and made them feel dizzy. On Broken Mountain, many people's bodies trembled. They staggered back a dozen steps, their blood and chi surging. It had to be said that the black palm had extraordinary effects when used in conjunction with the Great Void technique. When the two secret techniques were combined, their power rose sharply. Down below, many of the spectators turned pale. They thought that it would be difficult for them to withstand the attack. The attack had caught them off guard, and the giant black hand was lethal to cultivators of the Holy Ji Palace's secret plane. However, Yi Fan took it on. His golden fist blocked the black palm and stopped it in the air. However, this person was clearly stronger than Jianghu. The black palm was like a huge dark cloud. Black mist filled the sky and rumbled, pressing down like a mountain. This was an extremely terrifying wave of divine force, black and oppressive, intimidating one's soul. The large hand covered the sky and covering the earth. It was as if there was a black sea surging, rushing downwards. Yi Fan's fist was blazing with golden light. He punched the sky 9 times in a row, causing the sky to shake. Everyone's expression changed. This scene was extremely terrifying. The pure physical strength was actually so powerful. The golden fist smashed the void until it was about to collapse. The 9 fists shook the heavens and destroyed the large black hand in midair. Yi Fan had cultivated the attacking divine techniques of the 9 secrets. He could evolve many killing techniques such as the seal of sun and moon, the seal of mountains and rivers, the seal of fire phoenix and so on. However, he could not use them here. The battle sync technique was ever-changing. If he could use all kinds of divine seals and use them to their fullest potential, people would definitely be able to deduce the truth. At that time, the great sage would definitely attack. For the sake of the 9 secrets, they would definitely surround and block him. The Jiang clan would also go crazy. The attacking divine techniques of the 9 secrets could not be used in public. The disciples of the Ji clan are only SOSO. I was wondering how amazing you were. Why don't the 3 of you come at me together? That way I won't kill you one by one. Yi Fan purposely mocked them. He knew that unless there was no other choice, it would be very difficult for the other party to put down their pride and attack him together. Their origins determined their burden. It would be hard to say if the 3 of them worked together to fight one person on behalf of the clan of the ancients. It's enough for me to fight you alone, Jianghu shouted. At the side, the 2 disciples of the Ji clan had ugly expressions. They were already prepared to attack. Let's have a fair battle with him first. If we can't beat him, we can attack at any time, one of them said secretly. If they really couldn't beat him, they would attack together and kill him at the same time. Their lives and victory were more important than anything else. They had to do so even if they would be criticized. Jianghu displayed his invincible might. He used the Great Void technique to travel through the void space to a wondrous level. He came and went without a trace, and the huge black palm print slapped the sky. The cultivators who were watching the battle were all terrified. A cold smile appeared at the corner of Yi Fan's mouth. He didn't dodge quickly. Instead, he hurriedly used indirect attacks. He always managed to resolve the dangerous situation by a hair's breadth and purposely numbed his opponent. The Great Void technique is indeed peerless. It's truly a trump card. In a battle between cultivators of the same level, if one can master this technique, they will be invincible. It's indeed terrifying. We can't predict where he will appear at all. This mysterious person is very powerful, but he's now in a very passive position. The void ancient scripture is indeed the legacy of the great emperor. It's profound and unfathomable. The secret technique contained within is unfathomable. The cultivators watching the battle were all astonished. Yi Fan sneered. Unless one cultivated this technique to the extreme, as long as one's consciousness was strong enough, one would be able to foresee the future and determine where the opponent would appear from in advance. If one couldn't become one with the void, there would always be fluctuations that could be used to resist this supreme secret technique. Moreover, he himself had grasped this technique. However, Yi Fan was also very impressed. The technique left behind by the Void Emperor could be said to be the ultimate way. Once it was cultivated to the great perfection realm, it would be incomparably terrifying. It would be everywhere, invisible and formless. It could kill the enemy in the void with a single thought. Unfortunately, it was impossible for Jianghu to reach this realm now. As time went on, everyone thought that Yi Fan was restrained by the void technique and couldn't resist this supreme secret technique. He would definitely be defeated. Finally, Yi Fan made his move. He determined where Jianghu was going to appear and looked at where the two disciples of the Ji family were standing. The void was blurry. Jianghu had just rushed out when he felt the pressure of Mount Tai pressing down on him. The golden fist was indestructible and waiting outside. It was as if he had delivered himself to the door. Although his void palm imprint had already been formed, it couldn't block it. This time Yi Fan's fists were several times stronger than before. The golden fist wind surged and the multicolored light blazed. The thick golden clouds churned like a vast ocean, sending many of the cultivators on the broken mountain flying. There was no need to even mention the ones high up in the sky. Yi Fan made a killing move and broke through the black palm. The golden fist let out a tsunami-like sound that shook the sky. Boom. It was a pity that Jianghu was facing the fist head-on. He succeeded because of the Great Void Technique, but he failed because of the Great Void Technique. Jianghu was beaten to a pulp. Not to mention his physical body, even a cultivator of the 4 extreme secret realms would have to suffer a grievance if he took such a punch. Golden waves rushed into the sky and surged violently. The sky was filled with thick golden clouds, and the golden waves swept many people away. Yinqing. The 2 disciples of the Ji family who were watching the battle shouted. The Great Void Technique had clearly restrained the other party, so how did he get killed in the blink of an eye? The 2 of them were sad and furious. They charged forward at the same time. Before Yi Fan made the killing move, he had already calculated his position and disappeared in an instant. He didn't just want to kill one person. At this moment he used the Great Void Technique of the Ji family and appeared out of nowhere. He cut off one person's path and struck out with the void palm imprint. This change was too sudden. No one would have thought that this great enemy would know the unparalleled art of the Ji family, the Great Void Technique. Yi Fan's calculations were accurate. When he appeared, that disciple of the Ji family just happened to rush over and meet the terrifying black palm. This was the void palm imprint activated by the Battle Saint technique. It was like a black sky pressing down. It was impossible to estimate how terrifying its power was. Pow! A bone-chilling sound rang out. The black palm smashed that disciple of the Ji family into pieces in the air. His body and soul were both destroyed. You. The strongest disciple of the 4 rushed over. His face was pale and his lips were trembling. There was an uproar below. This was somewhat inconceivable. This person used the unparalleled art of the Ji family to kill a disciple of the Ji family. Heavens, he used the Great Void Technique and killed an expert of the Ji family. No wonder he doesn't fear the Great Void Technique. He is also proficient in this secret technique. Who exactly are you? Ji Yunlin shouted. His face was ashen. Out of the 4 young experts of the Ji family in less than an hour, he was the only one left. At this point, the people of the Wavering Light Sacred Grounds could no longer sit still and watch. The people of the Ji family were almost completely annihilated. They rushed into the sky. Didn't you organize the gathering of the young cultivators of the Chu province for me? Who do you think I am? The white mist dispersed and Yi Fan's true appearance was revealed. He quietly stood in the sky. His black hair danced in the wind. His eyes were clear and his sleeves fluttered. He had an otherworldly temperament. Yi Fan. Ji Yunlin felt as if his head was exploding. He never would have thought that it would be him. The 4 disciples of the Wavering Light Sacred Grounds were also incomparably shocked. The main character came here and started a massacre. This truly surpassed their imaginations. Many of the cultivators of the Chu province were even more dumbstruck. Then the crowd below burst into an uproar. This youth was the person that the Ji family wanted to kill. This caused them to be astonished. He was truly audacious. Under the arrest order of the Huanggu family, he didn't hide and actually dared to show himself. Let's use the Great Void Technique against the Great Void Technique. Giant Palm Imprint against Giant Palm Imprint. Let's see who is stronger and who is weaker. How about it? Yi Fan spoke. You. Ji Yunlin almost vomited blood. Didn't you all want to kill me? Today I've come myself. Yi Fan clearly wanted to start a massacre. Chapter 251. He's the person the Ji clan is looking for, yet he dares to come here and start a massacre. How surprising. Is it this youth? He's wanted by the Ji clan and the light-shaking realm, yet he still dares to do this. I wonder what he's relying on. On the Broken Mountain many people were discussing, all of them were extremely shocked. Right now Yi Fan looked to be only 15 or 16 years old. His delicate face even looked a little immature. It was hard to connect him to the aura he had when he was fighting in all directions. The four light-shaking realm disciples sealed off the surroundings to prevent him from escaping. Ji Yunlin almost crushed his teeth. Yi Fan had burned a supreme elder of the Ji clan to death and even took away the Great Void technique. He was the public enemy of the Ji clan's younger generation. Buzz. The sky trembled as Ji Yunlin attacked furiously. His black hand covered the sky and covered Yi Fan like a black cloud. It was so dark that it made people shiver in fear. Buzz. Yi Fan also unleashed a large palm imprint. It was as black as ink and covered the sky. It was like a black piece of land had descended and fiercely slammed forward. A needle against an awl. Bang. The two large black hands clashed together, emitting a heart-palpitating aura. Black mist surged and rushed in all directions. The destructive power caused many people to feel fear. On the broken mountain, many cultivators had blood flowing out of their ears and noses. They were affected by the terrifying shockwaves and even more fell to the ground. Many young cultivators flew up, not daring to stay here. They all dodged far away before stopping. The two large black hands clapped together again. This time the sound was very soft, but it was even more terrifying. The black clouds covered the sky as if they were being silently annihilated. Ji Yunlin's expression was ashen. A trace of blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth as his body flew backwards. He had obtained the orthodox inheritance but was still no match for the opponent. Even though Yi Fan had only obtained the incomplete form of the Great Void Palm imprint, he had grasped the Battle Saint technique. Using it as the source, it was enough to complete it to perfection. Swish. Yi Fan used the Great Void technique and disappeared from his original position. He appeared in front of Ji Yunlin and his large black hand slammed down with the force of a thunderbolt. Ji Yunlin passively attacked and unleashed the sky-severing finger. The tip of his finger was sparkling and 5 dragons soared into the sky, shaking their heads and wagging their tails. Boom. The two of them engaged in an intense battle. Ji Yunlin roared furiously. The void palm imprint in his right hand and the heaven-severing finger in his left hand fused into one, raising his power by a large amount. The huge black hand and the silver dragon scissors slashed down, wanting to cut the firmament in half. This part of the world shook violently. Yi Fan only used the void great hand imprint to face it, possessing mountain-toppling and sea-overturning power. The heavenly dome trembled, dark clouds covering the sky. At the same time, they would display the great void technique from time to time, shuttling through the void. It was dazzling and difficult to follow their movements. This was just too fast. The two figures continuously flickered about, displaying the secret methods of Ji family's ancient scriptures without restraint, striking the void until it caved in from east to west, continuously deforming. In the distance, everyone was overwhelmed with shock. This type of confrontation was extremely terrifying, and they knew that they were no match for him. If they went up, they would definitely be beaten into mush. Yi Fan's heart stirred. The sky-severing finger and the void palm merged into one, and the interaction between the left and right hands was extremely shocking. His opponent's strength had more than doubled and he was actually able to block him. He felt that he could imitate it and fuse it into the Battle Saint technique. This way he would have another great killing technique. Bang, bang, bang. After a series of collisions, black light and silver splendor splashed about. The sky trembled and Ji Yunlin's body shook violently. He retreated more than 10 steps in the void, and a trail of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. In the end he could not endure it anymore. He could not block Yi Fan's berserk power. His opponent's divine power was inexhaustible, and he was simply unable to contend against him. Ji Yunlin's expression was unsightly. Yi Fan used Ji family's absolute art to suppress him, and this was a type of humiliation to him. My Ji family's heroes are not here. Otherwise, even if you had 9 lives, it wouldn't be enough to kill you. Are you talking about the moons of Ji family? After I enter the 4 extreme secret realm, I will naturally go and have a look. Yi Fan pressed forward. The people of the Wavering Light Sacred Ground hurriedly went forward. If Ji Yunlin also died here, they really had no way to explain it to Ji family. People of the Wavering Light Sacred Ground, do I have any enmity with you? Why did you get involved? Yi Fan asked coldly. You have committed many acts of injustice. We are helping Ji family, what's wrong with that? A female disciple of the Wavering Light Sacred Ground avoided the main point and changed the topic. I saved one of Ji family's little moons, and she passed on a secret technique to me. In the end, Ji family repaid kindness with enmity, and chased after me for 10,000 miles. This is called committing many acts of injustice? Yi Fan laughed coldly. You colluded with the demon race and burned a respected senior of Ji family to death. Is that not enough? The female disciple of the Wavering Light Sacred Ground said coldly. She was born with a face like a flower and the face like the moon, and was rather beautiful. You really know how to take things out of context. Yi Fan laughed coldly. He was not afraid at all. He walked forward with large strides and said, There's no point in saying anything else. Since you guys are here, I don't mind. I will make you all stay here. These people had gathered together to deal with him, so he had no reason to show mercy. Do you really think you can start a massacre? The female disciple of the Wavering Light Sacred Ground sneered. She shouted at the surrounding cultivators, Everyone please help us take down this wretch. Yi Fan coldly snorted. He attacked like lightning towards the female disciple of the Wavering Light Sacred Ground. There were a total of 2 men and 2 women from the Wavering Light Sacred Ground. With Ji Yunlin's addition, it was a very astonishing combat strength. The 5 young powerhouses were all at the peak of the 3rd firmament of the Dao Palace, with 1 foot in the 4th firmament of the Dao Palace. Yi Fan's talent was extraordinary. He could go against the flow and kill immortals. With his strength at the 2nd firmament of the Dao Palace, he could fight against a powerhouse at the 3rd firmament. But if he were to face 5 people at once, it would be difficult to predict whether he would survive. After all, every one of them was a realm higher than him. If it were an ordinary person, they would immediately be crushed to death. However, he did not panic. He did not run away but instead rushed forward. The space between his eyebrows shone, and his divine sense manifested. The golden sword was very small, no more than an inch long, but it was fatal. This was a powerful divine sense attack. The female disciple of the Wavering Light Sacred Ground screamed pitifully. She clutched her head in pain, losing all ability to fight. Her ear-piercing screams tore through the air. Yi Fan used the footwork of a crazy old man and rushed forward. His palm was like a knife as he gently sliced down. With a puff, that beautiful head was sent flying. Blood splattered everywhere. The head had a confused expression and its hair was covered in blood. It was a very shocking scene. There were some young cultivators from the Chu state that had rushed over, but when they saw this scene they all retreated. If even a descendant of a holy land had been beheaded in a single exchange, wouldn't they be seeking death if they went up? If they wanted to improve their relationship with a Holy Land disciple, they could not gamble with their lives. Chi. Using the Great Void technique, Yi Fan tore through the air and suddenly appeared in front of a male Wavering Light Sacred Ground disciple. His powerful divine sense manifested once more. Puff. This time it was even more direct. An inch-long golden sword pierced through his forehead, causing his corpse to fall from the sky. Don't get too close. Sense the fluctuations in the air to avoid being killed by his divine sense attack. Ji Yunlin shouted. The remaining male and female disciples from the Wavering Light Sacred Ground had extremely ugly expressions. The other party had actually killed their fellow disciple in an instant. This caused them to feel both fear and anger. Boom. Yi Fan's large black hand collided with Ji Yunlin. At the same time, he used the Embracing Mountain Seal to fight against the Wavering Light Sacred Ground disciple and female disciple. This time the 3 of them were even more careful. They were all fighting from a distance and clearly understood the rules of the Great Void technique. They did not give him any chance to kill them with his divine sense. The male disciple of the Wavering Light Sacred Ground summoned a field of starlight. 36 fist-sized stars flew out, all of them refined from Violet River heavenly sand. Each of them was sparkling and resplendent, emitting a hazy purple aura. This was an important treasure that had been refined by an elder of the Wavering Light Sacred Ground. 36 purple stars shone brightly in the sky like a screen of light and shrouded in purple mist. Every single one of them was shooting down blinding sword energy. It had to be said that this was an important treasure of the sect. It could condense the power of heaven and earth and absorb the essence of heaven and earth. Even the radiance of the sun was absorbed. The sword chi was like a rainbow. It was extremely dazzling and unstoppable. It almost split the air apart. Dang dang dang, Yi Fan made his move. His large hand collided with the sword chi. Even with his powerful physical body, he still felt waves of numbness. This sect's secret treasure was very frightening. It could condense the power of heaven and earth, which was very disadvantageous to him. Scarlet light flickered. The female disciple of the Wavering Light Sacred Ground summoned a large red net. Red mist pervaded the air. The net's threads were sparkling and translucent. It sealed off the sky and sealed Yi Fan inside. The large scarlet net burned fiercely. It wanted to refine Yi Fan to death inside. This was also an important treasure and was very extraordinary. What are you all waiting for? Attack together and turn him into ashes. The female disciple of the wavering light sacred ground shouted at the crowd. Finally, more than 10 people rushed over. Seeing that Yi Fan was trapped by 2 great treasures, they wanted to add more flowers to the brocade. Yi Fan laughed coldly. He opened his mouth and spat out a small cauldron. It was only an inch tall. There were no waves of divine power or radiance. It looked simple and natural. One artifact to break all techniques, he shouted and summoned the cauldron. The Sea of Reincarnation scroll of the Tao scripture had a technique called one artifact to break all techniques. It was known as the 100 flowers kill after I bloom technique. However, one had to reach a certain realm to be able to display its power. When Yi Fan was in the Sea of Reincarnation secret realm, he had only forged 1 cauldron. After entering the secret realm of the Tao Palace, he still did the same. He placed the cauldron in his 5 great divine treasures and refined it continuously. Every great secret realm could forge many artifacts. Others had many artifacts, but he only had 1. He wanted to evolve Tao and reason. The 3-legged, 2-eared round cauldron enlarged to more than 9 meters tall. A misty yellow aura seeped out. It looked even more simple and elegant. It was filled with incomparable power. Boom! The cauldron shook in the air and suddenly exploded with a yellow aura. The 36 purple stars were all shattered. The male disciple of the wavering light sacred ground spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. The source root of all things hung down in strands, shocking everyone. This was a rare treasure of heaven and earth. It could be refined into an extreme weapon. It was like the phoenix blood scarlet gold, a sacred object exclusive to the great emperors. Heavens, it's the yellow aura. To be more precise, it's the source root of all things. Everyone was stunned. Yi Fan summoned the cauldron. The 9-meter-tall cauldron rushed into the air and trembled continuously. An ancient aura spread out, shattering the large scarlet net into pieces. Suppress! Yi Fan shouted. The 9-meter-tall cauldron pressed down from above the female disciple of the wavering light sacred ground. In an instant she was frozen in place. She couldn't escape even if she wanted to. She couldn't move at all. She was still more than 10 meters away and her body was about to crack. It was hard to imagine how heavy this cauldron was. The strands of energy that flowed out were unbearable. Clang! Ji Yunlin sent out a void palm print. The black palm heavily struck the 9-meter-tall ancient cauldron. However, it couldn't move it at all. It only made a loud sound. Chapter 252. The cauldron made of the source chi of all things was dripping with yellow light. It was majestic and simple, and it had the power to suppress the mountains and rivers. The female disciple from the Yaoguang Holy Land was in the 3rd level of the Holy Ji Palace. She even had 1 foot in the 4th level, but she couldn't move at all. The 9-meter-tall cauldron hung in the sky. Every time it pressed down, the female disciple would cough up blood. Wounds would appear on her skin. Junior sister. The male disciple from the Yaoguang Holy Land shouted. He spat out a jade seal. At first it was only an inch tall and crystal clear, but it quickly grew bigger. The jade seal was as big as a mountain. It had the power of 1,000 tons. It was as if a mountain had been moved over, and the air was shaking. The situation was critical. The female disciple from the Yaoguang Holy Land was suppressed by the cauldron. Even though she hadn't touched it and was more than 10 meters away, she couldn't bear it anymore. Wounds appeared on her body. The male disciple from the Yaoguang Holy Land used all his strength to summon the seal. The sky rumbled. The jade seal was clear and its power shook the sky. It made people feel uneasy. Then, the jade seal shook and scattered divine light. It was like a blade that cut the cauldron, but it was useless. The cauldron was like the sea and couldn't be moved. The male disciple from the Yaoguang Holy Land's heart sank. He gritted his teeth and activated his power. The jade seal shone brightly. It was like a shining mountain crashing into the 9-meter-tall cauldron. A cauldron made of yellow light was hard to find in the world. It was almost an immortal item. Even though the male disciple from the Yaoguang Holy Land knew about it, he had to fight. Even if he had to destroy the jade seal, there was nothing he could do. Otherwise, his fellow disciple would die. The jade seal was as big as a mountain. The flowers, birds, fish, and insects carved on it seemed to have come back to life. They made the jade seal even heavier and more solid. Bang! The jade seal that was like a crystal mountain finally hit the cauldron. Even though it looked much bigger than the cauldron, it wasn't as strong. The 9-meter-tall cauldron didn't move at all. Wisps of yellow light flowed out and the jade mountain was crushed. With a boom, it turned into jade light and disappeared in the blink of an eye. This was the cauldron made of the source chi of all things. Under such an attack it didn't move at all. It floated in the air motionlessly. Clang. Ji Yunlin made his move and struck out with the sky-severing finger, causing the 9-meter-tall cauldron to tremble. However, it couldn't move at all and stood there like a mountain, unable to change anything. Chi. Ji Yunlin flicked his finger once again and unleashed the sky-severing dragon revolving energy. 5 dragons coiled around the cauldron and their thick bodies wrapped around it. They raised their heads high and wanted to pull it up and throw it into the distance. Unfortunately, even the 5 dragons locking cauldron could not move it in the slightest. The cauldron overflowed with a mysterious yellow aura and flowed towards the dragons. With a few cracking sounds, the 5 true dragons coiled around the cauldron were all broken and completely dissipated. Everyone, quickly make your move and save Yao Guang's fairy. Ji Yunlin shouted loudly and transmitted to the surrounding people. Everyone please make your move. The light-shaking realm will reward you handsomely. The male light-shaking realm disciple yelled. Just now, more than 10 people had rushed over, but when they saw the might of the cauldron, they all stopped in their tracks and stood in the sky not far away. They could neither advance nor retreat. When they saw that Yi Fan was trapped, they originally wanted to add the icing on the cake and go forward to help. They never thought that the appearance of the mysterious yellow cauldron would change everything. At this moment, the people from the clan of the ancients and the light-shaking realm called out at the same time, but they had no choice but to advance. More than 10 people each took out their weapons and attacked the cauldron. The young cultivators from the Chu province dared to go forward, so their cultivation was naturally not ordinary. Their weapons shook the sky and divine radiance circulated like lightning. They were like flaming silver dragons, hissing as they illuminated the sky. Clang, kacha, clang. Even though these people's cultivation was not ordinary, they were still unable to move the mysterious yellow cauldron. This kind of heavenly and divine object was a rare treasure. Once it was forged into a weapon, it would be indestructible and immortal. The cauldron trembled slightly and mysterious yellow overflowed in all directions, turning all the weapons into fine powder. Yi Fan stood on top of the cauldron. His long hair danced in the wind and his eyes were clear. He exerted force and the cauldron sank down. The light-shaking realm female disciple screamed miserably. Her body was almost destroyed and blood splattered everywhere. Everyone please join hands against the enemy and send the cauldron flying. The light-shaking realm male disciple shouted loudly. He spat out a mouthful of essence blood which ignited around his body. Then, his body erupted with a resplendent radiance as if he was burning like a sun. Even though this kind of secret technique was not the impenetrable sacred light technique, it was still a secret technique that was not passed down. It was another supreme secret technique recorded in the ancient scriptures. His entire body was resplendent as if it was burning. He slapped out with his right hand, and a large expanse of divine flames covered the sky and earth as they surged over. A flaming palm covered the sky and fiercely slammed into the cauldron. Bang! The sound shook the sky and the void trembled. Everyone, he is already exhausted and cannot attack anymore. Let's suppress him together. Ji Yunlin also shouted loudly. A large black hand covered the sky. He unleashed a large void palm imprint that was like a vast and mighty black cloud. It continuously slammed into the mysterious yellow cauldron, creating a deafening sound. Go. Everyone join hands to kill him. As long as we can knock him out of the cauldron made from the source energy of all things, he will be meat on the chopping board. The dozen or so people rushed over and attacked with all their might. Since they had already chosen to attack, they could only deal a heavy blow. Dang, clang. Ear-piercing noises pierced through the broken Cloud Mountain range. Everyone attacked the mysterious yellow cauldron. Everyone knew that it was impossible to destroy this cauldron. This kind of weapon made from a divine object was almost immortal. They only hoped that they could knock it flying and shake the youth out of the source energy. Yi Fan was indeed running out of divine power. This cauldron was like a bottomless pit and could not be filled at all. However, he was not completely exhausted yet. He only wanted to wait for these people to rush over. The reason he did not kill the opponent under the cauldron in one go was to give others a misconception that he could save the light-shaking realm female disciple. Sure enough, these people all rushed over. At this point, Yi Fan no longer held back. He activated the large cauldron and unleashed his immortal might. Pfft. Below, that female disciple turned into a bloody mist and directly turned into ashes. Boom. The large cauldron moved as if the sky and earth were being turned upside down. The mysterious yellow chi overflowed and rushed in all directions. Ah! Miserable cries rang out. The dozen or so cultivators could not stop it at all. The mysterious yellow chi flowing out of this cauldron was as heavy as a mountain. These people were like ants trying to shake a tree. The first figure was turned into dust. The second, the third, all turned into ashes one after another, crushed by the mysterious yellow chi. The large cauldron shook, and the dozen or so cultivators that rushed over were all turned into ashes. Not a single one of them could resist. No matter what kind of secret techniques they used, they were all destroyed. No matter what kind of weapons they took out, they were all broken and destroyed. This was the might of a single cauldron destroying 10,000 techniques. The cauldron formed from the source energy of all living things shook, and everything in its path was destroyed. The light-shaking realm male disciple cried out loudly. The divine flames formed a large palm that madly slammed against the large cauldron, creating a deafening sound. However, it was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. The large cauldron crushed him and his body was immediately smashed into pieces. On the battlefield, only one figure had not been destroyed, and that was Ji Yunlin. However, it was obvious that he would not live for long either. The lower half of his body had turned into a bloody mist, and a large black hand was placed in front of his upper body. He was still gasping for breath. All of the spectators felt a chill in their hearts. This youth was too terrifying. One cauldron to destroy 10,000 techniques, destroying all of his opponents. This kind of battle prowess made people tremble in fear. You are really tough to survive until the end. Yifan was a little surprised. The cauldron had already shrunk to a meter tall and was suspended above his head. Wisps of mysterious yellow energy fell down and tightly protected him. This sacred object of the sect caused all the spectators to be both envious and fearful. You won't be able to survive either. My Ji family has experts in Chu state. If you can't leave this oasis, you will definitely be killed. Since I dared to come, why would I be afraid of this? Yifan's lips curled into a cold smile. Little brat, don't be too proud. When you meet the true young heroes of my Ji family, you will know what a true expert is. Are you talking about Ji Haoyue, Ji Biyue, or Ji Haiyue? Yifan asked calmly. Why do we need the young heroes of my Ji family's 4 extremes secret realm to kill you? Young disciples at the 4th or 5th level of the Doctrine Palace are more than enough. Killing you is like stepping on an ant. Ji Yunlin gritted his teeth. I have already killed 3 disciples at the 3rd level of the Doctrine Palace. Including you, there will be 4. What's so great about disciples at the 4th level of the Doctrine Palace? I will continue to try. Yifan said casually. Don't be so arrogant. My Ji family has many experts. There are countless disciples who are stronger than us. When the time comes, you will have nowhere to run. Are there many disciples at the 4th or 5th level of the Doctrine Palace? In the future, I don't mind killing them all. Yifan was very calm. The spectators from afar were shocked. This youth was like a demon king. He dared to wave his blade at the Huanggu family. He was filled with a demonic nature that sent chills down their spines. Be arrogant all you want. Your whereabouts have been exposed. It is impossible for you to leave the Chu state. 2 of the top 10 experts of my Ji family's Dao Palace secret realm are in this oasis. Let's see how you survive. Ji Yunlin's face was livid. Yifan did not care. He continued to talk calmly. Unknowingly, he had gotten a lot closer. At that moment, he suddenly attacked. In the center of his brow, from the golden lake, a powerful divine sense was formed and shot at Ji Yunlin's consciousness. Ji Yunlin screamed. Let me borrow the void ancient scripture to take a look. Yifan rushed forward and sealed Ji Yunlin. He knew clearly that it was impossible for Ji Yunlin to grasp the entire ancient scripture, but he must have learned a few supreme secret techniques. If he could find them, it would be a great harvest for him. Dream on. In his consciousness, Ji Yunlin roared, You will never get it. Suddenly Yifan's heart palpitated. He had a bad feeling. He decisively retracted his divine sense and retreated. Pfft. Ji Yunlin's head turned into ashes. A terrifying void power exploded there, piercing through the void. Black fog filled the air, causing people's hearts to tremble as it shot towards him. Dang. The cauldron made from the source chi of all living beings shook, and the mysterious yellow chi fell down like silk ribbons, blocking the dark light and preventing it from entering. Yifan sucked in a breath of cold air. If not for the cauldron made of black yellow chi, he would have been hit by the black light. These disciples all have the power of the void sealed in their sea of consciousness. This is really frightening. Yifan stood alone on the battlefield. The 8 young disciples of the clan of the ancients and the wavering light holy land were all killed by him. This would definitely cause a huge uproar. In order to capture him, These people organized the gathering of the young cultivators of the Chu state. However, he barged into the scene and started a massacre, killing them all. In the distance, the young cultivators of the Chu state found it hard to calm down. One could imagine that today's matter would be earth-shattering and cause endless waves. This news could not be suppressed at all. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, all the young cultivators of the Chu state had seen it. It would definitely spread at the first possible moment. Two great sages came to capture a youth, yet he provoked them. Killing 8 direct disciples in succession was the same as slapping Ji clan's face. It would definitely cause a huge uproar. Chapter 253. The battle had ended. 8 direct disciples from the Ji family and the Yaoguang Holy Land had been killed. This would definitely cause a huge uproar. Yifan landed on the broken mountain. The young cultivators of Chuzhou all retreated. Although this young man with flying hair looked gentle and quiet, everyone labeled him as a young demon king. Many people were discussing in low voices. When this news spread throughout the north region, how was this young man going to survive? The Ji family and the Yaoguang Holy Land had immortal inheritances and were supreme existences in the eastern wasteland. If anyone offended them, there would be no place for them in the world. Everyone please disperse, Yifan said with a smile. Let's go. We can't continue with the gathering of the young cultivators of Chuzhou. However, we were able to watch such a great battle, so this trip was worth it. Should be quiet. If the Ji family finds out, you'll be in trouble. That's nothing. The Ji family doesn't have that much power in the north region. What's there to be afraid of? Many people discussed spiritedly. They flew into the distance, leaving just like that. Even though Chuzhou wasn't big, there were many young experts. Naturally, many of them coveted Yifan's cauldron. It was definitely a holy item. Many people wanted to take action to seize it, but they didn't dare act recklessly. The cauldron made from all life source energy floated above Yifan's head, releasing strand after strand of mysterious yellow energy, protecting it tightly, almost impossible to break through. Yifan didn't care and walked forward. No one blocked his way. He arrived in front of a jade boat. This was driven by the Ji family and the Yaoguang Holy Land disciples. It was a spirit treasure specially made for flying. It was 10 meters long and could change its size at will. It could carry dozens of people and didn't need god power to activate it. All it needed was some source energy and it could fly quickly. It was much faster than normal cultivators. Normal people couldn't create such a spirit treasure. It needed to be carved with many complicated and profound Dao patterns. It was definitely made by an older cultivator. It was a rare transportation tool. Yifan waved his sleeves and the jade boat appeared in his hand. He transformed it into the size of a palm. It was colorful and flawless. Everyone, why are you following me? Do you want to tell others that you killed the direct disciples with me? Yifan smiled. Wah. As soon as he said this, many people took a step back. This joke was not funny at all. If they were to be dragged into this matter, they would have to bear the consequences. I understand. You want to use this to become famous. Don't worry, I will definitely tell people that you and I worked together to kill the descendant of the clan of the ancients. Yifan's smile was very bright. Many people's faces turned green. If this dirty water was splashed on them, then there would be great trouble. Many people immediately flew into the sky. Although a cauldron made from the source root of all life chi was a rare treasure, they knew that they would not be able to obtain it. Of course, there were also some conceited people who didn't leave. They continued to stare at the cauldron above Yifan's head. This was a rare treasure that could only be encountered by luck and not sought after. Even the Holy Lands were jealous of it, let alone them. Yifan didn't say anything. He used Crazy Ole's footwork and dashed into the depths of the mountains, leaving a shadow behind. There were people rushing up from the broken mountain one after another, chasing down. Treasures were indeed tempting. Even if they lost their lives, some people still wanted to be like moths flying into a flame. Boom. Suddenly Yifan turned back. The huge cauldron was like a mountain, crushing down. The people at the very front were immediately turned into ashes, dissipating in the air. Holy objects are tempting, but before you make a move, you might as well consider your own strength. Don't throw your life away for nothing. Yifan's expression was cold. After saying these words, he disappeared into the mountains with a few leaps, using Crazy Ole's footwork to the extreme. Not long after, Yifan changed his appearance. He wore a purple robe and became an elegant young man. He led a large black dog out of the mountains. Brat, you actually have a cauldron made from black yellow. Let me see. Along the way, the large black dog's eyes glowed with green light, and it was almost drooling. I told you 100 times you're wrong. Yifan felt a headache. This damn dog was too difficult to deal with. It always had its eyes on the treasures on him. Just let me see it. The Black Emperor persevered. Helpless, Yi Fan took out the cauldron and let it see. The large black dog wanted to pounce on it several times. Yi Fan warned sternly, "Don't drool. I definitely won't give this cauldron to you. If you want to snatch it, don't say I'm impolite." The large black dog clawed at its heart, but it knew that the cauldron made from black yellow was not easy to snatch. If it was not careful, it might crush itself half to death. "Black Emperor, you said that the Broken Mountain was the dojo of a ruthless person. Why didn't I find anything special about it?" After Yi Fan put away the cauldron, he quickly changed the topic. In the past, that person's background was so great that it made people unable to breathe. The dojo he left behind was naturally not so easy to see. "Can't we dig it out now?" Yi Fan asked. The large black dog immediately revealed a vigilant expression. He bared his teeth and said, "Brat, I'm warning you, don't have any bad ideas. The treasures here have nothing to do with you. They're mine." Suddenly a warship flew over. It was shining with auspicious colors. It cut through the sky and charged into the depths of the Cloud Mountain range at an extremely fast speed. On the warship that was refined from rainbow jade, a large flag was hung. The flag fluttered in the wind, and a large G character was written on it. Yi Fan frowned. He hadn't thought that the G clan would move so quickly. It had only been less than an hour, and elites had already arrived. Not long after, there were people who rushed out of the mountain and searched in all directions. Many cultivators who hadn't left in time were all intercepted by the members of the G clan. Yi Fan was not in a hurry. He had already gone several dozen miles away, but he was still stopped by the people who were chasing in this direction. He didn't want to go back. If he gave himself away, it would definitely be a great disaster. "Stop!" the elites of the G clan shouted. This caused Yi Fan to frown. This was an elite at the fourth heaven of the Dao Palace. That kind of divine power ripple was indeed very frightening. He felt threatened. The Black Emperor curled his lips and said, "I can bite him to death with a single bite." "Are you sure?" "I mean in the past." He felt a little guilty. "We have to get rid of him or else we will expose ourselves. The Black Emperor will have to rely on you later," Yi Fan said. "He's not my enemy. If you want me to attack, that's fine. Give me the seed with the bald head carved on it, or give me the black tortoise." "You're still trying to extort me at a time like this? Attack if you want. If I escape, I can change my appearance and disappear into the sea of people. They won't be able to find me in this lifetime. But you're different. Your features are obvious and your tail is even bald. If you mention this again, I'll get angry with you." The large black dog's face was very long. The elite of the G clan landed on the ground. He looked to be only 23 or 24 years old, but he was already an elite at the fourth heaven of the Dao Palace. With a gloomy expression, he said, "Follow me back to the mountain range. I have something to ask you." Yi Fan took a few steps forward and said, "Can't we talk here?" "Stop talking nonsense, hurry up and leave," the elite of the G clan shouted. His mood was terrible. A youth that had been captured by them had actually jumped out and killed a disciple of the G clan in broad daylight. If this news spread out, the G clan would be very embarrassed. It could be imagined that the news would quickly spread throughout the North region, and it would be impossible to cover it up. "If you don't want to die, turn around and return to the Broken Cloud Mountain range immediately," the elite of the G clan shouted. "All right." Yi Fan nodded. Suddenly, the large black dog dashed out like a black bolt of lightning, pouncing on the body of the elite of the G clan. The sneak attack was a success. The cultivator of the G clan was on guard against Yi Fan, but he didn't take a black dog seriously at all. In an instant he was pounced on by this black dog. At this moment, it was already too late for him to resist. The Black Emperor's body was as tough as steel, and he couldn't be moved at all. Boom. Yi Fan was afraid that something unexpected would happen, so he took out the myriad chi cauldron and used it to suppress the elite of the G clan. The elite of the G clan screamed loudly and he was crushed to death. 2 days later, Yi Fan met Tu Fei in a gambling den in the rising sun city of the Chu prefecture. "Little brother Yi, don't you think you've gone too far? I did say that I would make some noise and then enter this gambling den, and I would show myself. But you killed the 8 core disciples of the Holy Land and the families of the remote antiquity as if you were cutting melons. You brought the fire to my doorstep. I'm so scared." "Is it that serious?" "How could it not be serious? Many elites of the Ji clan came, and even their divine bodies showed up. Ji Haoyue and his sister were supposed to go to the Jade Lake Grand Meeting, but because of this they came here and entered the Rising Sun City. It seems I can't stay here anymore." Yi Fan frowned. Jianghu had a divine body. When he showed his unusual appearance, he could kill the wind and cloud elites of the fourth secret realm. He was invincible in his generation. Yi Fan was definitely not a match for him now. At the same time, he thought of something and asked, "Hasn't the Jade Lake Grand Meeting started yet?" "Not yet, but it will start soon." "We'll go together then," Tu Fei answered. "Oh right, you said that Jianghu and his sister came to the Jade Lake Grand Meeting in the northern region. Is his sister called Jizu or Ji Baiyu?" asked Yi Fan. "Little brother Yi, people in our business should be loyal. You have Yaoshi Fairy. Do you want to extend your evil hands to the pearl of the Ji family?" "Big Mouth 2, don't talk nonsense. I just want to ask. I don't know which moon it is. Anyway, we're going to the Jade Lake. We'll see it with our own eyes." Then Tu Fei complained, "You've brought me big trouble. I heard that the Yao Guang Saint's son is coming. I can't stay here anymore." Yao Guang Saint's son. Yi Fan was startled. This man was absolutely a peerless genius who could compete with King God Realm experts. His cultivation base was immeasurably deep. No one in the young generation of the Eastern Barren Continent could resist him. Shi Yin knew that the other came for the myriad Qi cauldron. The Yao Guang Saint's son was extremely talented and determined to be a great emperor. Since he couldn't get the pure phoenix blood gold, he must have his eyes on the mysterious yellow origin root. Big Mouth 2 glanced at the Black King and couldn't help but ask, "Where did you find this black dog? Your tail is bald. You must be very old. It's really nutritious. Why are you so polite to me? Anyway, it's good. Tonight I'll find a good chef to cook black dog meat." Yi Fan knew it was bad. Indeed, the big black dog dashed over and bit Tu Fei's right hand. He bared his teeth and said, "Kid, I think you're the nutritious one." T. How can this Shih Tzu talk? Tu Fei was startled. He screamed in pain, "Ouch! It hurts." Black King let go. Yi Fan hurried to stop him. Did this damn dog become a demon? But his tail is bald. Tu Fei couldn't help but open his mouth. Big Mouth 2 stopped talking. "You don't want your hand anymore, do you?" Yi Fan hurried to stop him. At the same time, he tried to open the big black dog's mouth. He was afraid that the Black King would bite him. "I hashtag at %yen." Tu Fei screamed in pain. He cursed, "T. Damn dog, let go. Since you've become a demon, don't you know who I am? I don't care which one you are. If you dare to disrespect this king, I will swallow you alive." The big black dog's face darkened. He didn't want to let go. Tu Fei urged his god power to shake his right hand. However, he couldn't get rid of the dog's bite. He could only scream, "T. It's the first time I've been bitten by a dog since I was a kid." Big Mouth 2, shut up. "Not to mention you, I think it will bite your grandfather if it sees him." Yi Fan tried to persuade him. At the same time, he threatened the big black dog to let go of him. What's the background of this bald dog? Tu Fei still didn't care about his life. He screamed and opened his mouth. Yi Fan secretly used the sound transmission to threaten the big black dog. Only Tu Fei knew where the monster clan's almighty lived in seclusion. He wanted the ancient scripture to let go. However, the black dog was determined. He didn't let go. Tu Fei kept screaming. Eventually, Tu Big Mouth said all the good things. He endured the pain and took out more than 50 kilograms of source stones. The big black dog finally let go and swallowed all of the source stones. T. I'm not done with it. After Tu Fei was freed, he wanted to use his treasures to fight for his life. However, the big black dog attacked first. He didn't show any signs of slipping away. He bit Tu Fei's ankle. "I'd #yen or $#. T. It bites me again." Tu Big Mouth was so angry that white smoke came out of his head. Eventually, he took out 50 kilograms of source stones and screamed. This time, Yi Fan hurriedly stopped him and said, "Don't cause trouble. Wait until you find a treasured robe to wear before you bicker with it. Otherwise, even if you go to a higher realm, you will still be bitten." "What are you looking at? Have you never seen such a heroic saint emperor before?" The big black dog glared at Tu Fei. T. I have never suffered such a loss in my life. Tu Big Mouth was indignant, glaring at the big black dog. "Don't look at me like that. I won't take you as my pet. If I take you out for a stroll, I will lose face." The big black dog lifted his head and didn't look at him anymore. "Little Yi, don't stop me. T. I'm going to skin it alive." Tu Big Mouth fumed with smoke. Tu Fei was irritated. He was bitten by a big black dog, which made him angry. Yi Fan was speechless. This damn dog needed to be taught a lesson. He talked to Tu Fei, "Don't rush. We will find a time to teach it a lesson together." After a long time, Tu Fei calmed down and asked, "Why are you looking for me? Do you want to go to the Jade Lake in advance?" "Of course we can't miss the Jade Lakes festival. But it's not about that. I want to ask you about the residence of the Blue Flood Dragon King, the fourth great pirate. Why do you want to know about the Blue Flood Dragon King's cave? What's the matter?" "The descendants of the Peacock King and the Great King of the Monster Clan should be there. I want to visit my old friends," answered Yi Fan. He couldn't mention Pang Bo. The big black dog's ears pricked up. Now he was completely obedient. He didn't utter a word and just listened to him carefully. "You don't want to go there for Yen Ryu, do you?" Tu Big Mouth made full use of his imagination. "Do you know or not?" Yi Fan urged. "Of course I know. Speaking of which, a spirit asked me about you last time." Tu Fei laughed. "Who was it?" "I forgot to ask for her name. Anyway, she was very charming." "Hurry up and take us to the Blue Flood Dragon King's residence," the big black dog interrupted. Tu Big Mouth's face darkened. He ignored the dog and said to Yi Fan, "We must leave Chaoyang City immediately. You've caused a big trouble. Oxhead and Horseface are all here. Especially that bastard Yao Guang's saint. I'm a little scared." Then he smiled and said, "Don't you want to know what's going on out there? Let's go to another oasis and see what kind of trouble you've caused." Chapter 254. Yi Fan killed Yao Guang and the 8 true disciples of the Ji family in front of the young cultivators of the Chu state. The news seemed to have grown wings and spread quickly, causing quite a stir. The Chu state was in turmoil and everyone was shocked. The Ji family sent many powerful cultivators to the oasis, including the divine body Ji Haoyue. Some people even saw the Yao Guang saint. Both of them were shrouded in halos. No matter where they went, people would pay attention to them. They were the top figures of the younger generation of the Eastern Barren Territory. Now for a young man named Yi Fan, they came to the Chu state at the same time. Naturally, it was shocking. Soon there was news that Yao Shi, the Yao Guang saint, had also arrived. Her appearance in Chaoyang City made the place a gathering place, attracting many people's attention. Everyone in the Chu state was stirred, and the surrounding oases also received the news. People were all talking about Yi Fan. This young man has no master and he didn't join any sections. He actually crossed the void from the southern land to the northern land. He really does have some tricks up his sleeve. He obtained the Great Void technique of the Ji family and burned the Supreme Elder of the Ji family to death. It's unbelievable. People were even more shocked when they heard about what Yi Fan had done in the past. They found it hard to believe. As a sacred body of the ancients, the path of cultivation will be extremely difficult. I don't know how far he can go. When this news spread out, many people let out a sigh. This kind of physique was like a curse. Even if one's comprehension was close to that of an immortal or a demon, they could only be locked in this flesh cage. The path ahead would make people feel despair. However, this kind of body is worth studying. I think all the great sage will be interested. He has a cauldron made of the source chi of all things. Such a treasure will make all the sects jealous. Even without the Ji family, his future is still worrying. What a pity. The sacred body of the ancients is a curse that is hard to break. His achievements in this life are coming to an end. Some people felt it was a pity. They felt that the young man's future was basically cut off. It was impossible for him to cross the natural chasm left behind by the primordial era. He dared to wave his blade at the Ji family. I was looking forward to a top-notch person rising up in the future. I didn't expect him to have such a physique. Countless years have passed since the primordial age, yet no one has ever been able to break the curse. To think that the invincible sacred body of the ancients would be reduced to a useless body. I wonder when a miracle will happen again. In the beginning, people talked about what Yi Fan had done. Later on, they talked about the sacred body of the ancients. No one had high hopes for him, thinking that he was nothing more than a short-lived, abnormal oddity that would wither very soon. They thought that such a physique had no future. At this moment, Yi Fan and Tu Fei had left Chu Prefecture. What do you think? You're a famous man now. Along the way, people are talking about you everywhere. Tu Fei was riding a green-furred lion, flying above the barren reddish-brown land. It's not a good thing to be on the cusp of the storm. If I don't have some special means, my life will be in danger. Yi Fan did not regret his actions. He did it to embarrass the Ji family. He was wearing purple clothes and his appearance was very different from before. His delicate features were gone. At this moment, his eyebrows were like swords and his eyes were like stars. He had a heroic spirit and his temperament had changed. He was not worried about giving himself away even when he met someone he knew. Without a mount, he walked in the void at a very fast speed. The big black dog also came to the sky, but he did not fly by himself. Instead, he coaxed and pestered Yi Fan to take the 5-color jade boat. It had been modified to look like a turtle's shell, and its color had become black. Tu Fei smiled and said, "You're famous in the area around Chu Prefecture. All the cultivators are talking about you. If you make a bigger noise next time, I think the news will spread to the sacred city. Then it will be lively." "That's nothing. When I was domineering in the world, everyone in the Eastern Barren Territory knew me," the big black dog interrupted. "What's its background? I really want to find a chance to stew it." Tu Fei gritted his teeth, sending a message to Yi Fan discreetly. "Forget it. Don't bother with a bald dog." Yi Fan tried to persuade him. Then he asked, "Where does the Blue Flood Dragon King live?" "It's very far. Even if we fly at full speed, it will take us more than 10 days to get there," answered Tu Fei. The northern region was really vast. Some sects even needed to fly for 1.5 years to get there. Luckily, the Blue Flood Dragon King didn't live that far. "What do you want to do after all?" Tu Fei didn't believe that Yi Fan wanted to visit his old friend. "I'm going to take refuge. The Ji family is chasing me everywhere. It's not safe outside." Yi Fan couldn't tell them the truth. This time he was afraid that he would offend the monster clan. "I have to remind you that you have the cauldron made of all creature source chi. If you go to the Blue Flood Dragon King, it will cause some trouble." "You mean the Peacock King and the others will take action?" Yi Fan frowned. Yan Ruyu had the saint weapon of the monster clan's great emperor, but the Peacock King didn't want to harm her. He even stood up and protected her. Would he take action for the materials he had? "I'm sure the Peacock King and the Blue Flood Dragon King aren't that kind of people. But it's hard to say for the other members of the monster clan. There are all kinds of monster cultivators." Although Tu Fei was a blabbermouth, he was serious at this moment. "If my grandpa didn't have the saint weapon of the black-yellow origin, perhaps I would want the black-yellow origin root in your body." "What? Your family has the saint weapon of the black-yellow origin?" The big black dog's eyes widened. "You're bragging. There are only a few of them in the Eastern Barren Territory. How could your family have them?" "Go away." Tu Fei had a bad impression of this big dog. Yi Fan frowned. After he came to the northern region, he didn't go to the Peacock King because he was worried the monster clan would want the treasures he had. Because when the southern region burned the Grand Supreme Elder of the Ji family, the cauldron made of black-yellow had been exposed. But now he had no choice. He had to go there even if it would be life-threatening. He wanted to save Pang Bo and he couldn't delay any longer. He was afraid he would never see this friend again. The monster clan said that in the end they would help Pang Bo. He would get great benefits, and the mysterious existence that had taken over his body would vanish. But Yi Fan didn't believe it. The monster clan's words couldn't be trusted. He didn't want Pang Bo to gamble his life. He had to save him. In the past, when he was in the southern region, he didn't have the ability. Any monster cultivator could subdue him. Now his ability was obviously not enough. But he couldn't wait any longer. Yan Ruyu used to say that everything would come to an end in several years. Time was tight. In 1.5 years, everything would be settled. At this moment, although Yi Fan's competence wasn't enough, he had to risk his life. He didn't want to regret it for the rest of his life. Even if his life was in danger, even if he had to face death, he had to take action. He didn't want to lose this friend. Cloud Lake Oblast was just like its name. There were big lakes everywhere. It was misty as if they had arrived at a water town. Half a month later, they arrived at this oasis. This oasis was really vast. It had a radius of 10,000 miles. Among the many oases in the northern region, it could rank dozens. Yi Fan sighed emotionally. This land was too vast. Compared to the continent on the other side of the sky, it was hard to accept. It was like a myth. Cloud Lake Oblast wasn't like the landscape of the northern region. It was green and full of vitality. Besides trees, there was water. There was a spring every 100 steps and a river every 10 miles. Tall mountains stood tall and huge waterfalls covered the mountains completely. It was a vast expanse of whiteness. The endless plains were green and green. Apart from the ancient trees that reached into the sky, there were big rivers surging everywhere. They crisscrossed with each other as if they were dragons that divided the land. Huge lakes could be seen everywhere. They were connected together, stretching as far as the eye could see. There were big lakes everywhere and mist could be seen everywhere. This was indeed the homeland of water. Blue Flood Dragon King, the large black dog muttered. It sounds like a flood dragon that has achieved Tao. It's not surprising that he would choose a place like this Water Lake Oblast. Don't speak nonsense. Yi Fan glared at him. Arriving at Cloud Lake Oblast would mean entering the territory of the Blue Flood Dragon King. If some demonic cultivators heard them, there would be trouble. The Blue Flood Dragon King is a senior almighty cultivator of the demonic race. After taking human form, he has already lived for more than 1,000 years. His cultivation level is unfathomable. We really have to watch our words and actions here, Tu Fei said solemnly. 2 days later, they arrived at the place where the Blue Flood Dragon King lived in seclusion. Tu Fei took out a jade pendant, which had the character Tu carved on it. It was carved by the 7th bandit, Tu Tian, and his seal was sealed inside. He took out the jade pendant. Instantly, a radiance flashed and the scenery in front of them changed drastically. They entered a strange space. The mountains were majestic and there were many lakes. The trees were lush and water vapor filled the air. 81 rivers passed through this place as well as dozens of lakes. This is a space created by the ancient sages. The large black dog's eyes flashed. Well, you know a lot. Tu Fei rolled his eyes at the bird. Who are you? In front of them, a shout came from a celestial mountain shrouded in mist. We're on the same side. My name is Tu Fei. I've been here before, Tu Fei answered. Several figures landed. The men were handsome and the women were beautiful. They all had a demonic aura as they walked forward. So, you're the descendant of Senior Tu Tian. After inspecting the jade pendant, they let them go. This space formed a vast world. After walking past the waterfall area, the scenery in front of them became even more beautiful. On the mountain peak, in front of the waterfall, pavilions, palaces, and buildings could be seen everywhere. Ancient vines, old trees, strange flowers, and strange grasses were everywhere. Oh, it's the descendant of the Tu family. You haven't been here for a long time, right? On the way, some old members of the monster clan greeted them. Tu Fei respectfully responded to them. Ah, Brother Tu, you're here. I've missed you so much. A young man of the monster clan flew over with several figures, landing on the ground. His figure was tall and sturdy and he wore green iron clothes. His physique was robust and he was filled with explosive power. His eyes were bright like stars, glistening brilliantly. The most peculiar thing was that within his green hair, there was actually a pair of dragon horns, sparkling and translucent. He was a flood dragon. In the East Barren territory where there were no true dragons, the flood dragon was definitely a royal member of the monster clan. Yi Fan knew that this young man must have an extraordinary identity. Brother Qingyi, you're even more elegant than before. Tu Fei smiled and walked forward. Indeed, this was the descendant of the Blue Flood Dragon King. His name was Qingyi and he was called Qingyi Young Flood Dragon King. This is Yi Fan. The Great Peacock King appreciates him a lot, introduced Tu Fei. Divine light flashed in the little Flood Dragon King's eyes as he laughed. I know you. I've heard about you. You burned the great elder of the Ji family to death. Heroes come from young. The other figures were all monsters. They looked at him, their eyes sparkling with a strange light. Please come in. This isn't a good place to talk. The green-clothed little Flood Dragon King said with a smile. He clapped his hands and a huge red-crowned crane flew over. Its wingspan was more than 30 meters and it carried them into the sky. It flew for more than 20 miles before stopping and landing on a beautiful celestial mountain. Here, every mountain peak had a large palace. The green-clothed little Flood Dragon King brought them to one of his temporary imperial residences. When they stepped on the massive stone steps and entered the palace, the little Flood Dragon King said, I have an important guest here. Who is he? Asked Tu Fei. He's the peerless hotshot of the young generation of our monster clan, Gold Wing Little Peng King. Tu Fei was startled. Is he the descendant of the King Peng King? Yeah, he's the descendant of the King Peng of the monster clan in the center of Eastern Barren. His cultivation base is profound and unpredictable. This time he came to the north to join the Jade Lake Grand Meeting. At the same time he wants to meet Yao Guang's Saint's son, said the little Flood Dragon King. Yi Fan was astounded. Yao Guang's Saint's son could be said to be invincible among his peers. If the Gold Wing Little Peng King wanted to challenge him, he could imagine how terrifying his cultivation base was. I've heard about the Gold Wing Little Peng King. I didn't expect that he would come to the north, said Tu Fei. Inside the magnificent palace, there were carved beams and painted pillars, dazzling with gold and jade. Clouds and mist surged on the ground. Beautiful demon women stood on both sides, as if they had entered the legendary ancient heavenly court of the demon race. Some young monsters were sitting neatly. One of them had sharp eyes. His face was fair and his blonde hair was draped over his shoulders. He looked like a splendid sunlight. He looked very handsome. This is the gold-winged little Peng King, introduced the little flood dragon king. The blond man stood up and nodded to them. Then the little flood dragon king introduced Tu Fei and Yi Fan. When he heard Yi Fan's name, the gold-winged little Peng King's eyes shot out two beams of dazzling divine light that could frighten people's souls. Is he the Yi Fan that the Ji family of the antiquity wants to capture? Yi Fan nodded. Being wanted by the antiquity family had a big impact. Even the gold-winged little Peng King knew about it when he had just arrived in the north. Swoosh! The sharp gold claw radiated dazzling light, snatching towards Yi Fan. It was the rock bird's claw. It was the massive claw of the gold-winged little Peng King. It covered the entire hall as if it could tear the void and cover Yi Fan. But a cyan shadow flashed. The little flood dragon king took action to stop the massive rock claw. Peng 11G, what do you mean? Tu Fei reacted, shouting indignantly. Gold-winged little Peng King, what do you mean? The powerful soul consciousness in Yi Fan's glabella was ready to fly out at any minute. He had just felt the threat of death. The gold-winged little Peng King's claw was aimed at his life. The gold-winged little Peng King's gold hair fluttered. He didn't mind it. I want to borrow something from him. It's okay to borrow something, but why do you want to take someone's life? Asked Tu Fei. What do you want to borrow? Asked Yi Fan coldly. I want to borrow the mysterious yellow original root. The gold-winged little Peng King clasped his hands behind his back, looking at Yi Fan. His voice was overbearing as if he didn't allow anyone to refute him. What if I don't want to borrow it? Yi Fan had never thought that someone would ask for the cauldron made of the source qi as soon as they arrived. Then I'll take it myself, said the gold-winged little Peng King faintly. He didn't look at Yi Fan, acting like he was the only one in the world. Peng 11G, you're crossing the line. Anyway, brother Yi is my guest, frowned the little flood dragon king. What guest? If you're not from our tribe, you must have a different heart. The gold-winged little Peng King gazed at Yi Fan as if he was looking at a dead man. What do you mean? Tu Fei shouted. Of course it doesn't include you. The gold-winged little Peng King clasped his hands behind his back, raking his eyes through Yi Fan. Just a trash body from the desolate antiquity. If I kill you, I kill you. What's the use of keeping it? You. Tu Fei arched his brows. The mysterious yellow original root is the holy treasure of our sect. I must have it. The gold-winged little Peng King didn't seem to understand human emotions. Peng 11G, it's not good, frowned the little flood dragon king. I'll give you two choices. The gold-winged little Peng King didn't have any human emotion. He gazed at Yi Fan and said coldly, First, give me the mysterious yellow original root and I will spare your life. Second, I will take it myself and end your life. Tu Fei was enraged. He had never met such an unreasonable person. Although he knew that the gold-winged little Peng King was invincible in the central region of Eastern Baron, he couldn't help but be enraged. Yi Fan's glabella shivered. His soul consciousness had turned into an inch-long gold sword, which he was ready to use at any minute. Don't attack me. Otherwise you will die without an intact corpse. The gold-winged little Peng King had a big body. His eyes sparkled with a crazy murderous aura. He looked down at Yi Fan.